Harry Gant was one of the drivers, stretching fuel mileage to the maximum. This year, the fuel story has been replaced by horsepower, and the number 9 Bill Elliott Ford is the car everyone's chasing. Cale Yarborough had the secret last year that put him in the winner's circle here at Pocono. But motor problems have plagued him this year. This was the scene Friday as Cale's crew scrambled to replace an engine before qualifying. Darrell Waltrip knew just how long his engine would run in the Winston at Charlotte, North Carolina. ESPN, your number one auto racing network, presents Auto Racing 85. Welcome you to Pocono International Raceway in the Pocono Mountains of northeastern Pennsylvania for the Scoy Diamond Mines 500. The weather, 65 degrees, winds from the southwest at 10 to 20. There's a 50% chance of rain. The humidity right now, 85%, but skies are beginning to clear. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber. This is a 2.5-mile super speedway here at Pocono, and when you mention the word super speedway, you think of Bill Elliott. He's won 7 of the last 10 super speedway races, and he's on the pole for today's race.
Well, that seemed to be close. Well, anyway, I was going to talk about the story of horsepower in 1985. That's horsepower, but Bill Elliott has also been the story in 1985. Now, he has won a race on every super speedway on the trail except this one within the last year. Only reason why he hasn't won here, we haven't raced here since he got hot. This was the last place a year ago that we saw dejected Bill Elliott after the race say, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, he figured it out.
Cale Yarborough's been struggling this week. He's the defending champion of this race, but that was his last win on the Winston Cup Trail.
Well, for Cale Yarborough, this becomes an important race. A year ago, this was the last race that he won before he ran into this dry spell. You know, they switched to Fords this year, but that's not been their only problem. There have been a lot of problems, and I just got the feeling that Waddell Wilson is so good, Cale Yarborough is such a good driver, that one of these days, they're going to take off and run from everybody.
On the outside of row number 1 will be Harry Gant, and with him, one of 2 pit reporters for today's Grand National race. Here's Dick Berggren.
For many teams, this is a key race. It's pivotal because Bill Elliott has done so well, he's left little winning for anybody. And the team that's been knocking on the door the hardest most recently is Harry Gant and his Scoy Bandit. In the last 4 races, Harry Gant has finished second. And today, he's starting second to Bill Elliott. Harry, how does the race shape up for you?
Well, you know, this is a different racetrack from what we're normally used to running with the 3 corners and everything. But Bill's got a fast car. We got this long home stretch, which does build up a lot of speed. And, you know, Ford has a little advantage down through here. But, you know, there's a lot of cars out here in practice yesterday and are really running good. So it's going to be a pretty tough race. But still, I think Bill will be the car to beat.
And for more on Pit Road, my colleague, Jack Arute.
Well, when you talk about what a difference a year will make, you've got to look at Neil Bonnet's car. At this time last year, it was sitting on the pole, but it wasn't Bonnet in the car, it was David Pearson. Remember the busted wrist and all the other problems that the Bonnet-Budweiser team had last year? Well, they went away with 2 victories at the beginning of this season, but for the last few races, Neil, you've been stymied. No more victories. Can you turn it around today?
Jack, I sure hope so. We had the thing really on a roll the first of the season. We got a little short track car here for hoping to handle on this type racetrack, and we're going to make a run at him today, see what happens.
Well, Neil Bonnet is just one of the drivers that is looking to unseat your pole winner, Bill Elliott, and they've given the command to fire engines. We're about ready to get underway. Let's go up to Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, gentlemen. The Scoy Diamond Mines 500 is being brought to you by Ford, who invites you to drive the new Ford Escort. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks and on the world's roads, depend on STP, your car care company. And by Goodyear, makers of the high-performance radio, the Eagle. We'll be back with more from Pocono International Raceway in just a moment. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway, where the 40-car starting field is about to pull away for a couple of warm-up laps prior to the start of this 200-lap, 500-mile race on the 2.5-mile Pocono International Raceway. A new record set here in qualifying this weekend of 152.563 miles an hour. That's 58.992 seconds, and that was done, of course, by Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the Coors Melling Ford. Drivers getting strapped into their race cars now. There's a look at Buddy Arrington in car number 67 from Martinsville, Virginia. And Cale Yarborough also gets ready to go in his Hardee's number 28 Ford. Bill Elliott, there's the pole sitter in car number 9. His engine has fired, and he's getting ready to pull away. And also Tim Richmond in car number 27 getting ready to go.
You know, Pocono has had a nice variety of winners, Bob, since they started this race. Matter of fact, that guy right there, you wouldn't exactly call him a surprise winner, but he broke into the winner's circle as far as NASCAR races go at this racetrack, and that's happened a number of times in the past here at Pocono.
And here's the second fastest qualifier outside of row number 1, Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina. Qualified about a half a mile an hour slower than Bill Elliott.
Yeah, he was really with the program last year. First and the second here at Pocono in 1984.
Now let's check the 40-car starting field for today's 500-mile race here at Pocono. On the pole, 152.563 miles an hour from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the Coors Melling Ford, Bill Elliott. Outside row number 1, Harry Gant, car number 33, the Kmart Skoal Bandit, 152.199. In row number 2, Darrell Waltrip, car number 11, the Budweiser Kentucky Fried Chevrolet. He's from Franklin, Tennessee. And outside row 2, Dale Earnhardt, car 3, the Wrangler Chevrolet. In the third row, car number 5, Jeff Bodine from Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Outside row number 3 will be Terry Labonte from Trinity, North Carolina, car 44, the Piedmont Airlines Chevrolet. In the fourth row, Benny Parsons, car 55 from Ellerbe, North Carolina, the Fast Fair Copenhagen Chevrolet. Then Neil Bonnet, car 12, in the Budweiser Kentucky Fried Chicken Chevrolet. In the fifth row, car number 15, Ricky Rudd and Phil Parsons in 66. The sixth row, Bobby Allison in 22 and Ron Bouchard in 47. In row number 7 for today's race, Cale Yarborough in 28 and Tim Richmond in 27. The eighth row, Bobby Hillen Jr. in car 8 and Richard Petty in 43. In the ninth row, Dave Marcus in car 71 and Joe Ruttman in car 4. 10th row, 88, Buddy Baker, and 75, Lake Speed. In the 11th row, car number 2, Rusty Wallace and Ken Schrader in number 90. The 12th row, Kyle Petty in number 7 and Greg Sachs in 49. In the 13th row, Lenny Pond, car 17, and Clark Dwyer in 64. The 14th row, Buddy Arrington in 67 and Bobby Gerhardt in 25. In the 15th row, Eddie Birchwale in car 6 and Jimmy Means in 52. The 16th row, 96, Jerry Bowman and 1, Charles Polillo. In the 17th row, Bobby Waywack in 74 and Mike Potter in 68. The 18th row, car number 20, Rick Newsom, and 53, Bill Scott. The 19th row, Steve Gray in 31 and J.D. McDuffie in 70. And in the final row, row 20, car 76, Bill Good, and 41, Ronnie Thomas.
There is Cale Yarborough. We talked about him briefly at the top of the show a little bit just before this pace lap began. Every race for the Yarborough team becomes an important race, particularly as they go and not win, because he picks and chooses his races each year, and normally they are expected to be one of the favorites, one of the guys to really beat at every race they compete at, but that's not the way it's been in 1985. There's pressure on the team, yes, but I'll tell you, I really believe it was not just something to say at the top of the show. This is an outstanding team, and a lot of things come together to make success, and I think they need a little bit of luck, because that team is chock full of all-star people.
And flanking him on the outside of that 7th row will be Tim Richmond in car number 27. And Tim is celebrating a birthday here this weekend, one of 2 drivers, the other Bobby Hillen.
Now, he says not, Bob. You know, Tim denies that this is his 30th birthday, but we've been following Tim Richmond since the career began. Was not 10 years ago, by the way, less than 10 years ago. We saw him come up to the super modified ranks, the sprint car ranks. He's tried a little bit of everything, rookie of the year in Indianapolis. And he, too, would like to do very well here today. Of course, everybody would, but everybody who does not have a victory so far in 1985 feels perhaps a little more pressure than the average team out there. This racetrack, as we mentioned, seems to create the ability for a team that maybe hasn't won yet to do well here at this race.
And we'll want to watch Tim Richmond on the start, too. He always makes a good move at the start of the race, and we'll have our cameras isolated on him when the green flag falls, and that should be in another lap. turn number 1 on their second warm-up lap. Well, Jeff Bodine will start in 5th position for this race. Jeff is from Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, and the Grand National cars don't compete often here in the Northeast, but when they do, it's kind of a homecoming for Jeff Bodine.
It really is for Jeff, and he'd like to do well in front of the home crowd. I'd like to make a comment about this racetrack as we look at Jeff. You know, he's doing very well this year, by the way. This racetrack is very unique as far as NASCAR racetracks go, and it creates a very unique set of problems. As we watch this pace lap, notice how flat the racetrack is. Now, that is not that uncommon for a short track, but for a long track, it is incredibly unique. And it creates a unique set of problems in terms of fuel mileage. If you miscalculate and you run out, let's say entering turn number 1, you're in trouble because the odds are that car, because there is no high banks here, will not coast around 2 miles to the pit area.
Not a particularly good qualifying day for Kyle Petty on Friday as he qualified at 1:48.601. Kyle starts in 23rd position in that 711 Ford.
Well, Bob, they had trouble qualifying also on Thursday, but Friday they went out and really did some testing. Yeah, they qualified, but you just had the feeling they knew what they had, what they needed to do. Even if they were the fastest qualifier on Friday, they would have only improved by 1 position. So though he is shown as starting in 23rd and maybe around the 22nd, 23rd fastest, I think there may be some more in that car because they did some homework overnight between Thursday and Friday, and they just went out there and got in the show.
This is a tri-oval-shaped racetrack. There are only 3 corners. They have moved through corner number 2 now and are headed down a 1,780-foot backstretch, or north straightaway as it's called here, and then head into turn number 3, which is only 6 degrees of banking. It's pretty much a flat turn that they're heading into right now. That will lead them on to the 3,740-foot front stretch, and in the middle of it, they should receive the green flag. Although Harold Kinder has indicated, as he's right now hoisting the yellow flag, indicating that it will be at least 1 more lap before they get the green flag.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this racetrack as we get a report on the NASCAR radio that there is a tool, apparently a screwdriver, on the racetrack. Most unusual. This is turn number 3. Bob told you that there are only 3 corners here. And the reason why this turn is important is because it leads on to the longest straightaway in this racetrack. You've got to get through there quick.
Here's a breakdown of how long the straightaways are here. The front stretch, 3,740 feet. Back stretch, 3,055 feet. And the short straight between turns 2 and 3, 1,780 feet in length. As far as the turns are concerned, turn 1 is 675 feet of radius at 14 degrees of banking. Turn number 2, which is called the tunnel turn, is 750 feet radius and 8 degrees of banking. And then the flat turn number 3, only 6 degrees of banking, but 800 feet in radius.
Well, Bob, you know, turn 2 may only be 8 degrees of banking, but there's a bad bump down there going over the tunnel. And even to look at it visually, it seems like more than 8 degrees. It's almost a high bank corner, but very, very tricky.
The pictures may not be quite as sharp as they normally would because there is somewhat of a haze in the Pocono Mountains here this afternoon. Now, it rained quite heavily last night and yesterday afternoon. However, the weatherman promises us that we'll have no rain until late this afternoon, probably after this race is over. Lake Speed is also in the field for today's Van Scoy Diamond Mines 200. He was the 20th fastest qualifier in the Nationwide Auto Parts Pontiac.
Slowest qualifier on the first day, but he did get into the top 20. They would really like to turn their season around. Remember, it started out very promising, that second place finish, that very emotional second place finish at Daytona, but they really have lost a little bit of the edge since then, and they're struggling too. Not struggling to make the show or run in the top 10, but he really would like to get up in the top 3 and maybe even win one. He's one of the few drivers running up front who has not won a race yet.
Joe Ruttman drives car number 4. He starts outside of row number 9. He's from Oakboro, North Carolina, originally from Riverside, California, and he's in the T.G. Shepherd Folger Chevrolet.
And Bob, talking about people who have not won a race yet, but who are accustomed to running up front, here's the other one, Joe Ruttman. We have seen him lead numerous races on ESPN, but never come home in the winner. By the way, the screwdriver dropped off of Kyle Petty's car. Is that a good or a bad omen? I don't know.
Buddy Baker will start alongside Lake Speed in row number 10. Buddy in car number 88. That's the Spirit of Lehigh Valley WLEV Oldsmobile that Buddy is driving here this afternoon. They're between turns 2 and 3 now. As a matter of fact, just headed into turn number 3. And the The yellow light is still on atop the pace car, and it could be that we'll get a green flag this time around, but no, we will not. The pace car stays out there, so at least one more warm-up lap.
Now, that one kind of threw a curve by me, too. The last time out, the yellow flag was being waved quite loudly, I guess you would say, by Harold Kinder, but this time he was motioning, and I thought he was motioning to the front row to come through, but it was the pace car, and they've decided to stay out there one more time. This may be just a touch confusing for the drivers because obviously they don't expect a tool to be left on a race car. They are all connected with radios, but they probably are surprised they're taking yet another pace lap.
We understand that also some smoke has been seen coming from the number 75 car of Lake Speed. We'll watch that, especially when the green flag falls. Well, it's been a very interesting season so far on the Winston Cup Tour. This is the 13th race of the year. And as far as point standings are concerned, well, Terry Labonte is atop the point standings right now. In that, and there is Lake Speed in car number 75. We'll see if we can detect some smoke coming from that car. We were talking about the point standings that Terry Labonte leads, Bill Elliott in second place in the point standings.
Well, Bob, something else that this delay of 2 laps now we've had is going to jumble up just a bit the pit strategy. Remember, we told you it's a long ways around this race course, and we expect them to go 40 to 45 laps if we go completely green that first segment before they pit stop. But because of these 2 extra stops, or rather these 2 extra laps, we may have to go much shorter than that, maybe as little as 36, 37 laps before that first cautionary pit stop.
That's a very good point. These warm-up laps, of course, taking fuel that they normally would use under racing conditions. Well, the race itself, the record for it is about 3 hours and 17 minutes. But depending, of course, upon the number of caution flags, this race could last as long as 4 hours, 15 minutes. So settle back for an exciting afternoon of Grand National racing from Pocono International Raceway in Pocono, Pennsylvania. Now the yellow light on top of the pace car is out, as you can see. He leads them off of corner number 3 and will be diving toward the pit area. Tommy Van Scoy, owner of the Van Scoy Diamond Mines stores in this area, will be displaying the green flag. There it is, and this race is underway as Bill Elliott pulls to the slight lead and Lake Speed comes into the pit area. Look at the wide racetrack that we have to deal with, especially on the front straightaway. They're going 5 and even 6 abreast down into turn number 1, but they will try to get at least in double formation, if not single file, going into turn number 1.
And, Bob, I must cite Tommy Van Scoy. You know, last year, he had a little bit of trouble on furling that green flag. It was almost perfect this year, I'll tell you.
As the field comes off of corner number 1 now, down the 3,055-foot Long Pond straightaway or the backstretch, Bill Elliott is the leader with Harry Gant running in second position. Now they go through the tunnel turn, and the reason they call it the tunnel turn is very simply. There is a tunnel for the cars that make their way into the infield to use, and there is, as Larry indicated earlier, a bump in the middle of that turn. Jeff Bodine is running in third position while Lake Speed continues to be in the pit area. He pulled into the pit area as the green flag was coming out. Field coming down for the completion of lap number 1. Now Jeff Bodine pulls to the inside of Harry Gant and battles for second position. They go into the corner side by side, but Jeff Bodine snatches the second position from Harry Gant as Bill Elliott continues to lead. Darrell Waltrip in car number 11 is running in fourth position as they once again go down the backstretch.
Now, if you're technically minded and got up early this morning and read the local paper and found out who qualified where, I got to tell you, things may change because the atmospheric conditions here are different than what they've qualified on. Matter of fact, they've been a little different every day. But take this morning, for instance. The temperature may change by as much as 20 to 25 degrees between inspection and the actual green flag of this race. It was very overcast early this morning. The sun is trying to peek through as this race starts out. It's very humid, and the temperature seems to be changing with the humidity and with the cloud cover as it comes in and moves away over these Pocono Mountains. So just because you were fast yesterday doesn't necessarily mean you are automatically fast today. Right now, Jeff Bodine looks like they got the right combination, Bob.
Jeff's running in second position now, right behind our leader, Bill Elliott. Third is Harry Gant. Fourth is Darrell Waltrip, and in fifth spot is Dale Earnhardt in car number 5. Let's go down to Jackaroo to the pit area.
You're looking at a spare valve cover from the Nationwide team. As you see, this area here generally takes a hose fitting for oil being pumped back up from the sump tank. The problem, with the car when he pulled into the pits for Lake Speed was a faulty connector. One of those hose fittings had snapped unloose. They had to replace it and go back out, and they've lost precious time.
Tough leg, but break for Lake Speed as he has been in and out of the pit area. And Dale Earnhardt moves high on the racetrack and loses several positions. There may be a problem with Dale Earnhardt. He has now dropped to the inside of the track. Meanwhile, Bobby Allison and Tim Richmond fight for the position.
As we continue to watch Allison and Richmond, just an update on Earnhardt. I think I saw some telltale smoke from way off in the distance over turn number 2 as Earnhardt went through the tunnel corner, down the front stretch of the leaders, and Earnhardt is coasting around turn 3 and headed for the pit area.
So 2 tough breaks here in the early going. We've only completed 3 laps. Lake Speed has been in for a pit stop, and now Dale Earnhardt moves into the pit area as we continue to watch this battle for 10th position. Bobby Allison in car 22 and Tim Richmond in number 27.
Well, for Earnhardt, that's the second time in as many weeks as he dropped out very early, qualified in his usual top 10, top 15 position, and then was just befallen with problems before the race even began to get old.
And by the way, he has pulled behind the wall back into his garage area. It looks terminal for Dale Earnhardt. Here, meanwhile, are the first 2 cars. Bill Elliott leading, Jeff Bodine running in second position. Let's go down to Jack Arute, who's with Richard Childress.
And he's the team manager for the Dale Earnhardt team. Richard, what happened?
I guess it blew up. I don't know. It quit on.
So it's going to be a long afternoon. You're just going to have to watch everybody else. Who do you think's got the toughest stuff here today?
I couldn't understand you.
Who do you think has got the toughest stuff today? Who's going to have to lead?
I don't know. Bill will be tough.
A disappointing time when you only make 1 lap at Pocono.
Well, Dale Earnhardt had won twice this year on the Winston Cup Tour, at Richmond in the Richmond 400 and at the 500-mile race we televised from Bristol, Tennessee. But it's an early out for Earnhardt this afternoon. Second and third position, Jeff Bodine, followed by Harry Gant as they once again go into the tunnel turn. The leader is Bill Elliott, and in fourth position, also in this pack of cars running now down the north straightaway, is Darrell Waltrip in car number 11.
Bob, not only had Dale won twice this year, but he won 2 of the first 5 races. There was a long time when only 3 people were winning these races: Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, and Bill Elliott. And it looked like those were going to be the 3 guys to really dominate the series this year, but Dale's really been stumbling the last couple of weeks.
The first 4 cars are running together, then 3 cars running together, then 2 cars running together. Then we get back here to 10th, 11th, and 12th position. Benny Parsons making a move on the inside of Bobby Allison. Moving down into turn number 1. Benny looking strong here in the early going. Right behind Bobby Allison is Richard Petty and Tim Richmond.
You can see the guys get way down, almost on the grass as they go through turn number 1. Remember, officially, as far as the books show, that is the highest bank corner on this racetrack, 14 degrees, heading down the long pond backstretch. And now they got to set up for the really tricky part of this racetrack. 3 abreast, headed for the tunnel turn. There goes Joe Ruttman and Cale Yarborough underneath Tim Richmond over that very bumpy corner. There it is. There's the tunnel. Everybody gets in line and follows suit through. Then they get to another straightaway and head for this very long, sweeping turn number 3. And it's important to keep the RPMs up because you're getting onto this long stretch. Now watch him get very low, actually getting the left side tires off and down into the grass coming out of turn number 3.
This is the battle for 13th position here. Cale Yarborough has it right now. Behind him is Joe Ruttman and then Tim Richmond. They can draft definitely down this long front straightaway, and that will play a part this afternoon in fuel mileage. There is Benny Parsons, followed by Bobby Allison, the 10th and 11th place runners at this point. Meanwhile, the lead continues to be held by Bill Elliott. Running in second position is Jeff Bodine. Third is Harry Gant, and fourth is Darrell Waltrip. We'll be right back with more from Pocono, Pennsylvania in a moment. Positions have changed on the 8th lap here in the Scoy Diamond Mine Grand National 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. Jeff Bodine has taken the lead. The battle for second. Inside is Darrell Waltrip. Outside is Harry Gant. Waltrip with second place right now. And Bill Elliott, who had led the first 7 laps, is all the way back to fourth now as drafting played a part in what happened last lap here on the front straightaway.
It really did, Bob, and those who went out to the refrigerator to get something and left with Bill Elliott leading probably wonder what happened. Did he screw up? No. It's just that Jeff Bodine was ready to go when they came down to front chokes last time, and, well, Harry Gant was ready to go, and so was Darrell Waltrip. And so they just moved right underneath there in the clean air. You can go just a little faster normally and bring clean air that somebody else has already made the way through for you, and that's what happened a lap ago here at Pocono.
Terry Labonte is moving up into fifth position as he now trails Bill Elliott, who is running fourth. There are the first three positions now, the first four, as Bodine has the lead off of the tunnel turn into the North Straightaway once again. Ron Bouchard, meanwhile, is running in sixth spot. There he is, car number 47. Ron Bouchard, also another one of those from the northeastern portion of the United States, from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. He's in sixth place right now. And earlier in the weekend, we had an opportunity to talk with this former modified driver from Massachusetts.
The track itself, has it presented any particular problems for you over the years? If so, what particular area of the racetrack is bad for you, or good for that matter?
Well, I think really the toughest part of the Pocono racetrack really is the backstretch over the tunnel. It's rough and it's bumpy, and that's probably one of the toughest places in a racetrack, and it's one of the places where you need to run good. And I think that's one of the hardest parts of the racetrack, to really get a good setup that you can get over them bumps and not have the car jump sideways on you.
Ron Bouchard running in sixth position right now in the Valvoline Buick. The leaders, meanwhile, continue to be Jeff Bodine, Darrell Waltrip, Harry Gant, and Bill Elliott.
Bouchard, by the way, has not finished a race in the last 4 races. It spans about 6 weeks. So, you think they want to do well here today? I just want to tell you, buddy, they really want to do well. It's been a long dry spot for them.
Off of corner number 3 once again. This will complete lap number 11. This is a 200-lap race on this 2.5-mile course. Bodine crossing the finish line about 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip, you would have to say, is on a hot streak. He, of course, won both races a couple of weekends ago at Charlotte, North Carolina, both the Winston and the World 600.
Well, tough break for all the fans down in the Christiansburg, Virginia. I guess it's over in the Christiansburg, Virginia area from here. Over and down. Ronnie Thomas, very early in the race, pulled off the racetrack. He's gone behind the pit wall. Don't know yet whether or not he'll come back. And Rick Newsom, who also started back in about 35th position, has come to a stop prematurely here. They got the hood up on that car, and they're working on it as the leaders continue to just pound around this 2.5-mile tri-oval. Very unusual, a racetrack with only 3 corners. It's like racing on a big tri-oval down at Daytona.
Well, let's give you the top 15 right now. The first 4, of course, are Bodine, followed by Waltrip, Gant, and Bill Elliott. 5th is Terry Labonte. 6th is Ron Bouchard. 7th position is Neil Bonnet. 8th is Phil Parsons. In 9th position is Ricky Rudd. 10th is Benny Parsons. 11th is Bobby Allison. 12th, Cale Yarborough. 13th, Joe Ruttman. 14th, Richard Petty. And 15th is Tim Richmond, as we focus in on the 4th place car driven by Bill Elliott. Now up to the leader, Jeff Bodine.
Bob, in that passage you just read, Joe Ruttman is another guy who has made a steady climb up to the front. He started in 18th position, one of the slowest of the first day qualifiers. That normally means you're well up in the top 20. But Ruttman has started in 18th today and has moved up. Now we have him unofficially in the 12th. And while we have been watching the lead quartet, I have noticed that Terry Labonte seems to be catching up.
And the leaders right now lapping the number 67 of Buddy Arrington. Now we see Harry Gant closing in on Darrell Waltrip there in the entrance to turn number 3.
There's Labonte.
And Labonte has moved right up on the back bumper of Bill Elliott. So Labonte makes it a 5-car race here.
By the way, that Imperial that they just went around, we are used to seeing Buddy Arrington driving that. That's still good. They've made a financial agreement with the Buddy Arrington team.
Here's Cale Yarborough, car number 20. We're trying to check to see if the rumor is true, and he has a cracked windshield. That's the information that we get from our spotters located around the racetrack. It's not evident, at least to us, on the monitor. However, we'll watch that situation and see if it presents a problem for Cale Yarborough.
The flying screwdriver break the windshield. Yeah, I think it would. I'm sure that's not what happened, though, because that was picked up long before this race started.
Yarborough leading Bobby Allison down the back straightaway. They're in 11th and 12th position.
Allison, by the way, ran in a modified race on dirt last night, if you can believe that. And we understand he led a first few laps, 3 or 4 laps, and then eventually faded and finished out of the top 10. But yet another example of this guy, Bobby Allison, who a long time ago was from the Miami, Florida area. He continues to race more often than not 4 times a week. And, of course, about every week in a Grand National Stock Car race.
Jeff Bodine showing his muscle. He went around Bill Elliott on the 7th lap, beginning of the 8th lap, and has been in the lead ever since. Darrell Waltrip right now content to lie in 2nd position, and Harry Gant is in third. There's Jeff Bodine off of corner number 1 onto the back straightaway. Bodine, formerly from Chemung, New York, making his home in Pleasant Garden, North Carolina.
You know, we had one of the races here last year that the attrition rate was very small. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, we had well over 30 cars still on the racetrack at the end of the race. But it seems to be happening relatively quickly today. Buddy Baker in car number 88 is the latest among the normal front runners, at least in the top half of the field, who has gone behind the pit wall. And again, we don't know if it's temporary or permanent.
Bill Elliott moves into third position as he got to the inside of Harry Gant. They move high to pass a slower car coming out of turn number 3. So Elliott now third, Gant is fourth, and Terry Labonte still running in fifth position. There is Tim Richmond. And as we indicated earlier, he won't admit it, but this weekend he's celebrating his 30th birthday, and some of the drivers had wishes for Tim.
Any birthday wishes for Bobby Hillin and Tim Richmond, who are both celebrating birthdays this weekend?
Yeah, you know, I think both those guys are using racing to back into what they really want to do, and I wish them a lot of success.
Yeah, I hope they just make it as long as I did, and they'll be in good shape. Yeah, I wish them both good race, safe race, and maybe they'll win.
Well, I wish Tim and Bobby both a very, very happy birthday. And guys, may it be a good one, and may one of you run second here.
Well, just have a good, happy birthday, and hope they're much older than I am.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Tim and Bobby. Happy birthday to both of you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, guys, thanks for all the greetings and everything like that, and girls, for these birthday wishes, but I think y'all are mistaken. It's not my birthday. I am not 30 years old, and there will be no more birthdays after this. I promise you. So thank you this time, but there's no more.
Now, Richmond, you're getting old, let's face it. Happy birthday to both Tim Richmond and Bobby Hillin. Back with more of the Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500 from Pocono International Raceway after these messages.
The New Jersey Generals host the Jacksonville Bulls in our exclusive Monday night matchup. Auto Racing 85 is next with the IMSA GT Series. The next stop on the circuit is Lime Rock, Connecticut. Don't miss the action. It's all happening tomorrow.
Back at Pocono, where the battle right now is for 11th and 12th and 13th position. Cale Yarborough in 11th, Ricky Rudd right behind him, and then Neil Bonnet. Ahead of this group is Benny Parsons, and he's kind of pulled away from the pack. They were going at it 4 abreast there for a while, but now it's basically a 3-car battle here. Yarborough, Rudd, and Neil Bonnet.
The Fords are ganging up on the General Motors car there. It's Ford, and General Motors Chevrolet. Neil Bonnet, of course, in the number 12 car. Cale's been running a pretty good race, you know, Bob. I've been watching him, and he's so crafty and so wily. He may be running about the pace that he wants to run. Now, he does have a habit of running up front when things are going very well, but they may be making sure that things are just working properly for him. He still may be in a position to challenge in this race later on, but it's too early to tell. We'll just have to wait and see.
Rudd trying the slingshot now after pulling out of the draft. Heading low toward the inside of the racetrack, pulling alongside Cale Yarborough. They are side by side going into that corner. Now Rudd with a slight advantage coming out. Neil Bonnet watching from behind. He gets also down to the inside of the racetrack. And now it's still Yarborough with the advantage there in that position.
Bob, it gets a little tight going up into the tunnel turn. You've got to, more often than not, filter down to one abreast. You see the guys do that as they go into turn number 2, over the tunnel, now into that short straightaway, and then they start getting set up for turn number 3. It's in this place in the racetrack right here where you're likely to see, particularly after long green flag segments, a lot of things take place because you have to get through turn number 2 almost perfect. And if the tire setup is beginning to go away, or perhaps the atmospheric conditions are changing just a little bit of what's going on in terms of the setup of the car, you can lose a lot of ground because you have to brake more often than not, touching the brakes going through turn number 2.
Now Cale Yarborough putting just a little bit of speedway between himself and Ricky Rudd. He is, of course, from Sardis, North Carolina, and we had an opportunity to talk with him earlier in the weekend.
The track is different, and particularly the front stretch is really long. You got a lot of extra time to look around, see what's going on, don't you?
Well, you got a lot of extra time, but you don't look around much unless you go look around and see who's coming up by you or passing you. It is a long straightaway, and the draft comes into effect
down this long straightaway. So a man can come off turn behind you, and he can shoot by you down the end of this straightaway. And you have to be careful getting into that first turn down there. It's almost a one-groove turn. So you go down that front straightaway about 180 miles an hour, and then you have to try to get in line, get you a spot to get in that first corner. So it's quite tricky.
Dale Yarborough from South Carolina, I should have said, running here in 9th position. The lead continues to be held by Jeff Bodine in car number 5. There is the lead pack as they head into turn number 1. Waltrip is still in 2nd. Elliott is 3rd, and Terry Labonte is 4th. Let's go down to Jack Arute, who's with Harry Hyde, the crew chief on Jeff Bodine's car.
Bob, one of the things that's happening is the temperature is beginning to go up here. And for Harry Hyde and Jeff Bodine, that's a good sign. You wanted it to get hot, didn't you, Harry?
Well, I think our car works very well when it's hot. And our carburation and our chassis and everything is set up for a hot day because we understood it's going to be in the 90s today. And, yeah, we're glad it's hot because that's the way we're set up to go.
How much hotter would you like to see it get today?
Well, I don't care if it would just get like it is right now and our luck holds. That would please me just fine.
Like Jeff Bodine says, thank you for the ride, Harry Hyde.
Well, there definitely has been a change in weather conditions even since this rain began. The sun is beginning to shine brightly now. And with the sunshine, a lot of heat and humidity. Earlier in the day, a lot of cloud cover, a lot of gray, hazy skies, but now skies are clearing. The temperature is warming up considerably. That's good news, apparently, for the Jeff Bodine crew.
Bob, another thing this track provides is that I think it's a little more than the normal advantage, I guess, for an experienced crew. You know, they haven't raced here at Pocono that many years as far as Grand National races go. Plus, as we mentioned earlier, this track is so unique as Grand National race tracks occur that if you've been around a long time, if you've been here for the last 7 or 8 years, that puts you at a tremendous advantage because if you're one of the new teams, you run on a high-banked racetrack, it seems like every other week. And if you're close at all, it's pretty easy to catch on to the system. But you don't come to a place like this all that often, and you really have to be right on top of your game to keep up with the right setup all day long.
Leader of the race, Jeff Bodine, is currently 3rd in the Winston Cup point standings. He finished 9th in the standings last year, and Jeff has finished 2nd on 2 occasions this year, but has yet to taste victory in 1985. His 2 second-place finishes came at Richmond and at the Atlanta 500. Well, Benny Parsons now involved in this battle with Ricky Rudd and Neil Bonnet.
Bob, Benny has been in only 5 races, make it 6 when you score this one, as he goes a little high going into turn number 1 and watches Ricky Rudd go underneath as well as Neil Bonnet. Thought to say that in the 5 previous races, Benny's best finish has been an 8, and 4 times he has failed to be around when the checkered flag fluttered. So I can guarantee you that he's watching the gauges very carefully. They do would like to do well.
9th, 10th, and 11th position here. Bonnet in 9th, and Benny has been falling back for the past couple of laps. He once was in 9th place, but now is in 11th spot as we watch them once again go through the tunnel turn and onto the north straightaway.
Bob, you know, Pocono can almost lull you to sleep. Now, we'll watch this trio as they come around turn number 3 and kind of zero in on the right front of Neil Bonnet's car. We think there's been some contact out there, and it may be bunged up just a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look quite as aerodynamic as it was when they shoved it out of the garage this morning. It's been in that battle, as you mentioned, the last 6 or 7 laps. They've been running close and tight, drafting down the front stretch, passing as they go into the corners. I think he's made contact with somebody. But I was about to say that Pocono can lull you to sleep. The straightaways here are so long, the turns so infrequent as a Grand National racetrack goes. The way the wall's painted, it makes the cars look like maybe they're not going quite as fast as they really are.
Next time around, we will have completed 25 laps. 1/8 of this race is over. Jeff Bodine is the leader, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage here on ESPN.
What passenger car did you first drive when you were 16 years old?
Well, you know, when I was the first car that I remember driving by myself was a 56 Ford. The first car that I had that was called my car was a 48 Mercury Coupe. Nice car.
The first car that I guess was mine was about a 1961 Pontiac. I think it was given to me by an old uncle of mine that had become disabled. The car had been sitting around for years and years and years in the garage and, collecting dust and whatever. I remember the first time we took the thing on a trip, we made it to Selma, Alabama before a hole burned through the top of one of the pistons. It was about size of a 50-cent piece. We're on the way to a kart race. We had to wind up renting a rental-car to go the rest of the way.
Yeah, I remember the very first car I drove on the street was my daddy's 65 Fury 3 Plymouth. I didn't have a license at the time. My sister did, and her hair was wet, and she was going over to her girlfriend's house, and she said, "You drive, I'm going to dry my hair." So I drove, and she held her head out there and went in and dried her hair. So we got over to her girlfriend's art. She made her date all right.
One of our better questions of the week, and we'll have more comments from more drivers as this race progresses on what was your first passenger car. Boy, I bet that Plymouth Fury was a beautiful machine.
Hey, I bet all those guys would like to have that first car and have the money that they're worth right now.
All right, we've completed 27 laps now, and the top two, Jeff Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, but here is Joe Ruttman on the inside of the racetrack. Joe is running in 13th spot, but it's been unlucky for him. He is going very slowly now through quarter number 3 and about to come in for a pit stop.
Bob, the question of fuel might come up, but remember, our theory was that normally about 100 miles on a load of fuel, so they could go 40 to 45 laps. We're only at lap 27, so even with those 2 extra parade laps before the race started, I don't think this is a fuel stop or a fuel problem for Ruttman, unless they've been drinking like it's going out of style.
We'll see if he pulls behind the wall. No, he does not pull behind the wall. He will stop in his assigned pit area. We'll see if next, if the hood goes up to indicate that there was a serious problem, but it could be just a routine pit stop. The crew out to change the rubber on the right side of the car, and fuel is being put in. Now they begin to raise the hood, and that may spell some bad signs for Joe Ruttman.
You know, Bob, when we were in Charlotte, some of us a couple weeks ago, I had an opportunity to see his car owner, T.G. Shepard's concert. And I got to tell you, and this is not a commercial plug. If you ain't seen one, you ought to try it. It's very interesting. I was very impressed.
Waltrip continues to run in second spot behind Jeff Bodine, although he closes up now and moves right in on the back bumper as they go through the tunnel turn. You can see the slight bump there as they went over it, the bump for the inside of that tunnel turn. But Bodine able to hold off the challenge of Darrell Waltrip right now. Meanwhile, lying back in third position, watching what's going on ahead of him is Bill Elliott, who led the first 7 laps of this race.
Bob, I got to tell you, what we just saw was confidence in fellow man and his ability to steer a speeding car, because I got to tell you, that bump in turn number 2, it is really tough and really tricky to go over at, say, 140, 150 miles an hour. And Waltrip snuck right up there behind Jeff because he had the confidence that Jeff was not going to lose control going over that corner. He could stay right with him, and maybe he'd get a chance to get around him. He followed him right through there, and guess what? Neither one of them made a miscue.
22 cars are on the lead lap. Now we watch the top 3 here. In 4th spot is Terry Labonte. 5th is Harry Gant. 6th is Ron Bouchard. 7th, Bill Parsons. 8th, Cale Yarborough. 9th, Ricky Rudd. And 10th is Benny Parsons. 11th position belongs to Tim Richmond. 12th is Neil Bonnet. In 13th is Richard Petty. 14th, Bobby Allison. 15th, Buddy Baker. 16th is Kyle Petty. 17th is Rusty Wallace. 18th position is the number 71 of Dave Marcus. Let's go down to Jackaroot to see what the problem is with Joe Ruttman.
Well, Bob, Joe Ruttman is out of the race. The problem has been diagnosed as a terminal injury to the dry sump oiling system. Of course, as you know, if you can't get oil back to the engine, it's tout fini for the afternoon. An early afternoon, but it might be an indication of things for us to watch down here. You know there's a new rule change coming up on the 4th of July at the Firecracker 400. Maybe some of these teams are using up some of their old equipment because they know they're going to have to go with new cams and new systems come the 4th of July.
We'll talk about that new rule that will go into effect for the Firecracker 400 a little bit later in the afternoon, but the attempt is to slow the cars down by about 5, 6 to 7 miles an hour.
Obviously, the pivotal point of that is a restrictor plate that goes into the carburetors, and the idea is to get less air going into that fuel-air mixture that goes down into the cylinders and makes the car go.
Jeff Bodine, the leader of this race. He has been one of 2 leaders that we have had this afternoon. Larry Newber talked with him earlier this weekend.
Jeff, this is one of the 2 tracks in the schedule that come relatively close to home. Does that give you a little more incentive?
It always has, but last year we ran the worst here at Pocono that we did on a whole circuit. Today, we're running a lot better than we've ever run here at Pocono. We think we have a good car. We know we have a good car, good engine. We just need to keep everything together again, but the car's handling real well. It seems to be running up to a pretty good speed, so we think we're going to put a better show on this time at Pocono than we have in the past.
Jeff Bodine from Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, running in the lead here and pit stops may be coming up now pretty soon. We've run 31 laps, and we had, don't forget, 3 very long pace laps or parade laps to get the cars warmed up, so we'll probably see some earlier than usual pit stops. There is Tim Richmond and Benny Parsons going at it on the backstretch. Tim Richmond moves to the inside of Benny in that number 27 car, and this would be the race for 10th position. And Benny able to hold off the challenge for the time being, so Benny stays in 10th, Richmond in 11th, and Neil Bonnet in 12th spot.
You know, even though the first 3 or 4 cars have been dominant up to this point in the race, remember, this is a relatively slow, if you call 150 mile an hour average slow, 2.5-mile racetrack. So among the top 20 cars, they have not been lapped yet, even though these guys have been so tough all day long. So we still have a lot of cars in the lead lap with pit stops coming up. I'll tell you, the work in the pits could really change the complexion, at least the early complexion of this race.
And among those running in the top 10, the earliest one to pit, here is Ricky Rudd on pit road with a change of rubber on the right side of the car and some weight being jacked, it looks like, there in the back end as one of the crew members reaches in. Now the car is down off the jacks, and Ricky Rudd makes a very quick pit stop, and others are occurring. Kyle Petty is in for a stop behind Ricky Rudd, and so is Bobby Hillen. But the leaders stay out there on this 2.5-mile tri-oval. Ricky Rudd picking up speed and getting back into competition. There is the Kyle Petty stop. Here is Jeff Bodine coming in. The leader is coming in for a pit stop. Both Waltrip and Elliott remain out there, but Jeff is in for the stop. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
Harry Hyde has stopped the Jeff Bodine machine. It goes to work on the outside. Right side tires the order of the day. The thing most interesting to notice, however, is they're not making any chassis adjustments. You heard Harry Hyde say that they were set up to run in the heat. They seem to be off and away in fine fashion.
It's a
15.5 seconds of excellent stop for the Bodine crew.
Certainly was. Jeff making a good stop and goes back out there. Now Junior Johnson's led Budweiser pit crew ready to go for Darrell Waltrip. There is Jeff Bodine picking up steam in the turn number 1. We'll be watching to see if Darrell Waltrip, who's the leader of this race, comes in this time around.
Well, what you do at this point, obviously, if you stop before you run out of fuel by carefully monitoring how much is in the tank after you stop when you make that pit stop, you do that by how much will fit back into the tank when you're refilling it. Gives you a chance to judge your gas mileage for a particular race.
Darrell Waltrip did not come in. He stays out there on the racetrack. There is Bill Elliott right behind him, dogging him for that lead.
Harry Gant's in, Bob.
And Gant is in. He was running in the top 5. Gant's making a pit stop. So is Phil Parsons, who is running in the top 5. But Waltrip and Bill Elliott stay out there. There is Harry Gant in for some service on that Chevrolet.
Now, the other assumption that everybody is making, and I think is a fairly safe one, is that we've gone green since this race began, and it seems like one of those races where you can depend on the green staying out for the next 5 or 10 laps or so. And that's another reason, because people have kind of an incentive to come in early, because the earlier you come in, the quicker you can check on your car. And if you want to make any changes, you can do so and get out on the track a little sooner. The guys out on the racetrack right now, they would like to see a caution flag, because that might give them an opportunity to make up some ground on the racetrack, and if nothing else, at least make a leisurely pit stop. These crews are very excellent, obviously, at making pit stops. When you do it under the yellow, it kind of gives you a lot more margin for error. As a matter of fact, it almost reduces errors, almost eliminates errors, because you can do it at a reduced pace.
They stay out there, though. They're stretching the fuel mileage just like Cale Yarborough and Harry Gant did at this race last year.
Bouchard has come into the pits, by the way, as we continue to watch the leaders. There's Ronnie coming in, and for him, boy, it's been a good day so far.
Benny Parsons is coming in, so is Neil Bonnet, so just about all now of the top 10 have been in, with the exception of, and there is the Ron Bouchard stop.
And there's somebody from the Coors crew helping him out, or maybe they ripped the uniform and they needed to borrow it.
Anyway, the only 3 cars that have not been in now out of the top 12, Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott, and the leader, Darrell Waltrip. We're watching them as they come through corner number 3 to see if the 2 leaders will come in for a stop this time. But they appear to be standing on the gas and staying at speed, so no stop yet for the first 3 positions here at Pocono.
There's one reason why Bill Elliott couldn't have come in, at least potentially, if that was his right rear tire man working on Ron Bouchard's car. They got to wait till Bouchard gets done so this guy can run back and do the right rear tire on Bill's car.
Sharing pit crews here at Pocono. Cale Yarborough is in now. He was running in 8th position. comes in for the stop in that Hardy Chevrolet.
Bobby was running in 8th, and he was moving up. It wasn't rapid fire, but it was ever so surely and ever so carefully. He kept creeping up on Phil Parsons. He looked like he might have been in a very nice position, a comfortable position for that particular stage of the race. They, too, have not reached down inside the rear compartment of that car and changed the setup. They were very happy, apparently, with what is going on.
Boy, the precision that it takes to make a quick pit stop. 15.3 seconds for Cale Yarborough. Now we once again watch to see if the two leaders will be coming in for a pit stop. No indication. Waltrip and Bill Elliott are staying out there and racing, completing lap number 37. Here comes Terry Labonte, however. He is running in 3rd position, and now only Elliott and Waltrip have not come in for a pit stop out of the top 12.
Well, let's see how Dale Earnhardt and crew handle this. They go to work in the car, nobody reaching inside the race car, routine tire changes, the right side getting a brand new set of Goodyears on there, holding on very routinely, giving the car a big, nice drink of gas. Not too much spillage, and Terry Labonte at 13.7 seconds, he was ready to go, wasn't he? That was the quickest, I think, Bob.
I believe it was. If it wasn't the quickest, it was among the quickest, a little over 13.5 seconds. The leaders are through the tunnel turn. Now, remember, we've already talked about how important it is to not run out of fuel on this racetrack. It looks like that Waltrip and Elliott are stretching it to the maximum because they have run several more laps than most of the others. We watch them come through corner number 3 now, and it appears as if, yes, both of them are coming in. Waltrip and Elliott both coming in for stops.
Well, if the Elliott people weren't waiting for Waltrip to come in, it just was an unbelievable irony.
Let's go down to Jackaroo for the call of this pit stop by the leader, Darrell Waltrip.
Side-by-side confrontation. Darrell Waltrip's crew goes to work on the right side. So does Bill Elliott's crew. But it's Waltrip taking on tires. No chassis adjustments to Waltrip's machine. Seems to be none, however, on the Bill Elliott machine as well. The crew for Waltrip is done. He's down off the jack. He's drag racing down the front straightaway pit area, down into turn 1.
They're side-by-side as they come out of the pit area. It is now Bill Elliott pulling to the slight advantage as they make their way back onto the racetrack. But still pretty much a side-by-side contest. Now Elliott with the advantage, so he was able to pick up the advantage with the pit stop there.
And they come out right behind Terry Labonte. Remember, we told you how quick Labonte's stop was, and there's the difference. Labonte went into the pits behind them. He comes out in front of them. Also recall that Elliott was trailing Waltrip before the pit stop. The crew doing just a split second, maybe a second job quicker than what the Junior Johnson crew did, at least that time.
With the first pit stops made, Jeff Bodine is the leader. There is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Labonte, Elliott, and Darrell Waltrip. There is the leader, Jeff Bodine. So they have all come out on the racetrack pretty much at the same locations on the racetrack, running right together out there with 38 laps completed. And ESPN and NASCAR now present a track fact.
All drivers use goggles or a face shield to protect their eyes from debris from the racetrack. But Tim Richmond may use more goggles than anybody else. He'll go through as many as 9 sets between practice and 500 miles of racing. 4 of those sets in the race itself. Now, how does he accomplish the exchange? Well, he pulls 1 set off of his helmet and then goes to his goggle supply here located on top of his radio and pulls out a brand new set during a caution. A lot of goggles, but vision is very important in Grand National racing.
This track fact has been brought to you by Levi Garrett Chewing Tobacco. Time after time, the quality comes through. 39 laps have been completed with Jeff Bodine leading the Van Scoy Diamond Mines 500 from Pocono. Back in a moment.
Just hear the stock cars rolling down that high bank track. Better keep your eye on number 5, cause he ain't looking back. That's Levi Garrett coming through. Face that flavor coming through for you. Time after time, the quality comes through. That's why Levi Garrett is the brand I'm proud to choose. Levi Garrett.
The top 3 here at Pocono. Jeff Bodine, the leader. Bill Elliott running second, and Darrell Waltrip is in third spot. We have 19 cars on the lead lap, and 42 laps have been completed. For those of you just joining us, we welcome you to the 13th stop on the Winston Cup Tour for 1985. We have had no caution flags to this period. However, we have had 3 leaders. Bill Elliott led early. Jeff Bodine had the lead. Then Darrell Waltrip took the lead before Bodine got it back on the pit stop.
Well, we'll ask you at home. What do you think? Without a doubt, these 4 guys have dominated this race. Do you think they're all just cruising? That's relative use of the word cruising. Or do you think that somebody is showing us everything that they have?
Ricky Rudd and Tim Richmond have been running together most of the afternoon, and right now this is the battle for 9th spot. It is Tim Richmond now in 9th, and Ricky Rudd right behind him, rafting down the main straightaway. Pontiac against Ford here.
They are evenly matched because you saw Richmond get the advantage, but Rudd was right there, tucked in behind him coming out of turn number 4. Tim was just a tad loose, but Ricky rock solid right behind him. He waits this time as they go through the high bank turn number 1. Both of them sliding out just a little bit, but I'd say under control.
Well, they were, but you can see clearly that the rear ends were out on those cars as they went into corner number 1. Now they move on to the 3,055-foot backstretch, also known as Long Pond Straightaway.
You know, I had one time a race driver, Jerry Weeks, as a matter of fact, described to me what it was like going to a corner in a race car. And he said it was very simple. You go into a corner as hard as you can and throw the car as far out of control as you possibly can, and then you try to save your life coming out. And I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Richmond and Ricky Rudd here, 9th and 10th position. In 11th spot, not too far behind these guys, is Benny Parsons. I had breakfast this morning with Benny, and Benny was very optimistic going into this race. He said the car was running as well as it has all year. But Benny has not showed very much strength at this point. Still running in 11th spot.
There have been a number of cars, as you mentioned, Bob. I think you said 19 that are still on the lead lap. And guys up front, those first 4 have been so good up to now. That's a bit surprising, even though this is such a long ways around. It takes you about a minute to traverse this 2.5-mile tri-oval, or triangle, whatever you want to call it. But even though there have not been very many challenges to the supremacy of the first 4, everybody running up front has remained on the lead lap so far.
Battle up front is a good one. There is Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott. They are separated by only a couple of car lengths. Then a little bit of racetrack back to 3rd position. That's being held by Darrell Waltrip, and 4th is the number 44 of Terry Labonte. There is Phil Parsons driving car number 66. Right behind him is Cale Yarborough. This is 7th and 8th spot.
Well, Cale has been stalking since about 6 or 7 laps before the caution flag I mean pit stops, during the pit stops, and now the first 4 or 5 laps after the pit stop. So it's taken him about 15 minutes to catch up to Phil, but I think they're getting ready to do some tussling for the 7th and 8th positions. This is one of Phil Parsons' better days. He has not finished a race now since the Martinsville race back on the 28th of April. So, boy, he would like to do well here and show well today. He has a 11th fastest qualifying time already in 1985, but he has yet to really run up in the top 5 all day long. He has an 8th and he has a 9th.
Cale, of course, won this race last year, and that was the last race that he has won on the Winston Cup Tour. Well, as far as attrition is concerned, last year in this race, 39 cars started and 32 of them finished, and that is a record as far as most cars running at the conclusion of a race. Out of our race here this year, Ronnie Thomas has gone by the wayside, so is Dale Earnhardt, Jerry Bowman, Rick Newsom, and Joe Ruttman. All of those drivers out of the race. Now the top 5 at this point, Jeff Bodine is the leader, followed by Elliott, Waltrip, Labonte, and Gant, and we'll be back with more from Pocono. The Spirit of Excellence, the 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Games, starting June 29th. ESPN will renew America's love affair with the Summer Games last year for 16 consecutive days. We'll bring you all the excitement, the thrills, and the heroes who made headlines in Los Angeles 1 year ago. The Spirit of Excellence on ESPN. Jeff Bodine, Bill Elliott, and Darrell Waltrip, the top 3 with almost a 4th of this race completed now. 48 laps completed, 50, of course, the 1/4 mark. And Bodine has looked very strong here in the first quarter of this race, but it would appear that perhaps Bill Elliott is biding his time out there.
Well, the people who went the furthest in that first load of fuel, Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, and it's so surprising that they're running up front in Labonte. Kind of interesting, the guys who've been dominating this race, with the exception of Jeff Bodine, got the apparent best mileage, although I don't know that you can really pull from that exactly what mileage everybody was getting as a result of that first pit stop. Like I said, that's kind of a checkpoint. It's almost an experimentation process. Doesn't make too much difference when you stop during that first green flag segment, as everybody's measuring and trying to figure out just exactly how well they're doing.
Well, we haven't forgotten him. We hope you haven't. Dick Bergman has had some equipment problems. They're fixed now. Here's Dick with a comment on Jeff Bodine's performance so far.
Well, in previous races here, Bob, Jeff Bodine has also had some equipment problems. But today, before the start of the race, he seemed to think those problems were over. He's got his own engine program going. They got it working right after the last race here at Pocono. And he said the engine in his car today is the best he's ever had. Furthermore, the car is set up better than one he's ever had at Pocono. And he said this morning he'd definitely like to win here in front of his hometown crowd.
And he's on his way to doing it, although there's a long way to go right now. But he is staying ahead of that Bill Elliott Ford that has been so strong all this year on the super speedways.
About one thing for sure, everybody who's still in the race, mathematically has a chance to win, but you got to figure the guy leading probably has the best chance, right?
I would think so.
Even though we got a ways to go.
And this will complete lap number 50 as they come down this time. They're coming off of corner number 3 now onto the straightaway and crossing the start-finish line. There is the 50th lap completed, so we are 1/4 through this Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500 from Pocono, and still no yellow flags. We hope that continues throughout the afternoon.
The record for the fewest number of caution flags in an event here at Pocono won back in 1978, so we're not yet approaching a track record in that regard.
And the third and fourth place competitors right here, Darrell Waltrip and Terry Labonte. They're a few car lengths behind the leaders and doing their own battle for third spot out there.
Well, we are lapping the race course about 100, I would guess 646, 647 miles per hour, because the average speed at 50 laps was almost 146, and of course that factors in one pit stop. Remember, they qualified at 152 miles per hour. By the way, that's 58.992 seconds with Elliott. At 146, that bumps us down to about 61.2 seconds.
Waltrip leading Terry Labonte down the straightaway. Fourth position here. Darrell Waltrip in that Budweiser car, and the Piedmont Airlines sponsored machine of Terry Labonte right behind him.
Well, Labonte, of course, is the points leader. He's been the points leader twice this year. There is Jeff Bodine, who's the race leader. He is one of the guys who has led the points at least on one occasion so far this year. He certainly is beginning to look like he's a threat for the championship honor. They say the drive for the championship, number 5 in 1985.
And there once again is Cale Yarborough, and his performance today has been very, very respectable compared to what happened to him on Friday during the qualifying. That engine let go on him, and he was quite a dejected person, and was among the first to qualify because he had to participate in the International Race of Champions at Mid-Ohio in his helicopters from the racetrack here on Friday to Mid-Ohio, where he competed in the IROC race yesterday. But Cale Yarborough has done very well here and is currently in the top 10.
Well, Bobby's just picked up another position. He has moved up unofficially into the 6th position. He's been like a steamroller at the top of a soapbox derby hill today. Started out very slowly, but continues to pick up steam.
All right, let's review the top 10 for you at this point. The leader is Jeff Bodine. Second, Bill Elliott. Third is Darrell Waltrip. Fourth is Terry Labonte. And fifth is Harry Gant. The 6th through 10 positions, as we have them, Cale Yarborough now has moved into 6th spot, passing Ron Bouchard, who is 7th. Bill Parsons is 8th. Tim Richmond 9th, and Ricky Rudd is running in 10th position. Well, as we indicated to you, there will be a rule change coming up in a little less than a month from now, and Jack Arute has a closer examination of that change.
Rules have been a main topic of conversation throughout the 1985 racing season. We've heard about whether the Fords are more competitive or quicker or slicker than the Chevrolet GM product. And the thing we've also taken a look at are the alarming speeds, over 200 miles per hour plus,
at places like Daytona and Talladega? Well, NASCAR has answered at least that question with this technical bulletin. Effective with the Firecracker 400, all Winston Cup Grand National competitors will be forced to throw away their throttle plates that they're using at the present time. Now, these throttle plates have a bore of 1 inch and 11/16. The new plate will be reduced 1/4 of an inch, down to 1 inch and 7/16. The reason for this? Well, NASCAR hopes that they can reduce the input of fuel and air into the engine itself and thereby reduce the horsepower. If you reduce the horsepower, hopefully on tracks like Daytona and Talladega, you'll also reduce the speed. The latest edition of Auto Week may have shed some light on the other controversy as well, whether the Fords are indeed faster and slicker than their General Motors counterparts. A look at the 1987 model here shows that the storm may be still on the horizon as far as whether the Fords are slicker and quicker than General Motors cars.
Jeff Bodine continuing to lead the Ford of Bill Elliott here at Pocono. There are the first and second positions. As you can see, they're separated by 8 or 10 car lengths. We'll be right back with more of our live coverage from Pocono International Raceway after these messages.
Harry Gant, what's it like driving the Skull Bandit?
It ain't easy, even in practice.
What's it like using Skull Bandits?
That's real easy.
Skull Bandits is tobacco in a neat little pouch. You don't chew it. Just put one between your cheek and gum and enjoy the refreshing taste. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
It's that easy.
Try Skull Bandits, the little pouch of pleasure, in wintergreen or new mint.
GT Series continues from Lime Rock, Connecticut. It's more of the best auto racing coverage on television Monday on ESPN.
Here are the current Grand National point standings as we move into this 13th race. Terry Labonte on top with 1,815 points. Bill Elliott is second. Jeff Bodine, the leader of the race here this afternoon, is third. Waltrip is fourth, and Ricky Rudd is fifth in the point standings. In sixth position is Bobby Allison, followed by Kyle Petty. Then Harry Gant, Neil Bonnet, and Lake Speed is 10th in the point standings. After Lake, we have Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Hillen tied for 11th, and Tim Richmond, Rusty Wallace, and Richard Petty. The lead here at Pocono continues to be held by Jeff Bodine as he flashes by. Behind him is Bill Elliott. In third place is Darrell Waltrip, and fourth is Terry Labonte.
Well, this has also been a profitable year for the Bodine team. In addition to accumulating a lot of points, they're number 5 right now in terms of dollars won for 1985. As we look at Bill Elliott, he's won a few dollars himself this year. Bodine, by the way, has won over $233,000. Elliott is no longer the #1 leading money winner. He is second with $526,000.
Now a good battle shaping up between Cale Yarborough and Ron Bouchard. These two cars also have run together pretty much since the drop of the green flag out there, battling for position.
Yeah, Bouchard has got to be looking over his shoulder, but maybe not. Maybe he's busy enough. They've had so much misfortune this year, and they've tried so hard. They've been fast. They've qualified well, as a matter of fact. It's very commonplace for this team to qualify near the top 5, certainly in the top 10. But as we told you earlier, 4 times in the last 5 times in the last 5 races have been out at the end. They have been fast in the middle of races all year long, and it's been a lot of little nagging problems that really have kind of held them back. They were very happy when they got their Valvoline as a sponsor for the 1985 season. The first time in a long time that this team has had really a substantial sponsor, and they wanted to do well with it, and they have. They've made the Valvoline name run up front again.
Ron Bouchard is working with a brand new crew this week. The crew chief on the car is now listed as Suitcase Jake Elder, and we asked Ron about it.
Ron, a bit of a shakeup as far as your crew is concerned for this race. What, if any, effect does that have upon you as the driver?
Well, I think it has some effect. You know, when you lose people in a racing operation, it hurts you. And, you know, in our aspect, we lost some of our pit people. So in the last 2 or 3 races here, we've had to hire some people, you know, to come in on a weekend and pit the race car. And it's really tough to put a bunch of guys together for a 1-weekend deal and have a good pit stop. So it's been hurting us a little bit, but, you know, the performance of the Valvoline Buick has been well. So, you know, I think here in the next few weeks we'll get it together. And we're looking for this race at Pocono, and, you know, we got Michigan coming up in July 4th at Daytona to be, you know, 3 probably good races for us.
working very well for him here this afternoon. Ron Bouchard in 7th spot right now.
Well, Cale Yarborough, who right now has the better, at least the upper hand temporarily on Bouchard. He's a guy who's been around a long time. You know, we were doing a piece about your first car. Well, this guy's been driving race cars since he was a teenager.
Well, let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area. Jack?
Imagine, if you will, driving down the Pocono International Raceway with a hole in your windshield exactly this size and in this location. That's what's facing Cale Yarborough and the Hardee's team at the present time. Now, it's not a problem, it's just a hole. But the problem can develop from the wind being thrown off the other cars. This hole can begin to form linear cracks this way. And all of a sudden, down the front straightaway, you can be wearing a windshield right in your lap. That's what concerns Cale Yarborough and crew chief Waddell Wilson at this time.
Well, Jack, are they making preparations to change that windshield should he develop further problems?
Yes, they have, Bob. They've gone out, got another Ford windshield. It's standing by. Under a caution, they could make the exchange and not lose a lap. But if this race goes without a caution flag, they don't want to bring the car in because they would go at least one lap down.
All right, good point. Thank you for the report on the Cale Yarborough situation. Now on the racetrack, we watch Benny Parsons, Ricky Rudd, and Tim Richmond, who are all in there for 9th, 10th, and 11th spot.
Well, Bob, we've gone 60 laps, and we told you it's a long ways around here, but the leaders are beginning to kind of work their way up into the faster traffic. Richard Petty, running in 15th position, is the last car on the lead lap, and the leaders are beginning to encroach on him. These guys are running all around 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and the leaders are beginning to come around. These guys, too, would like to see that caution flag, maybe make a tweak.
Average speed at the end of 60 laps, 145.945. Is drafting a problem here? We asked Benny Parsons.
Is drafting possible any place on this track?
Oh, drafting is very, very important here. Down the front straightaway, drafting is so important. As a matter of fact, hopefully we'll see cars 3, 4 abreast trying to draft down the front straightaway. The only problem is when you get down in turn 1, it all funnels into basically one group.
Well, we're seeing Ricky Rudd right now drafting on the tail end of Benny Parsons' cars. They come off at corner number 3, and by the same token, Richmond tucked in on the back bumper of Rudd.
You know, in a lot of ways, Bob, this front straightaway really is extremely well suited, maybe almost perfectly, because it is so long. There are no turns or bends in it, and the draft is very uniform as the cars fly down this front stretch and making this wave of air for those behind to follow. So it really is almost perfectly suited for drafting, and you really can get a lot done if your car is set up just a little bit better than the guy in front of you. The tricky part, unlike most of the NASCAR tracks, when you get into turn number 1, you've got to use that left foot to brake. You got to slow the car down much quicker. Matter of fact, on the big tracks, you don't have to slow them down at all. You can kind of maneuver your race car, but here you have to drive it in and fight with both your hands and feet to get around a turn.
And the braking is quite heavy as they go into turn number 1 after coming off of a very long straightaway that is over 3,700 feet in length, and they really climb on the brakes when they get down into turn number 1. Well, Phil Parsons is now running ahead of Benny Parsons, his brother, and Benny appears to be catching him, and that would be the 8th position that Phil holds right now.
As they go around Phil Good, who runs that car number 76, the teammate to Buddy Arrington, they have been moving up on Phil Parsons the last few laps. And again, let me remind you, this is a successful day for Phil Parsons up to this point. He runs consistently in the top 5, top 10, let's call it. They may be at a bit of a disadvantage because they are not used to running that far up to the front at this stage of the race. You know, and the setups in these cars necessarily have to change as the race wears on. So Phil may be at a bit of a disadvantage right now.
All right, up front, the lead continues to be held by Jeff Bodine. And right behind him is Bill Elliott. There are now 14 cars on the lead lap. Richard Petty has just gone down a lap. We'll be right back. You can see Jeff Bodine passing Bobby Allison, and Allison is running 13th, so there are now 12 cars on the lead lap. And it is 64 laps completed in this 200-lap race here at Pocono International Raceway. There is a scoreboard that is provided for the convenience of those gathered in the grandstand here, and there is a tremendous crowd on hand here this afternoon. We thought maybe the crowd would be held down because of the poor weather that we've had the last few days, but not so as they began rolling in. In fact, I got caught in a traffic jam at 9:45 this morning.
Absolutely. And by the way, this is sponsored by Van Scoy Diamond Mines, but it is not Diamond Mines, it's the Diamond Store business, and I want to make that clear. By the way, if the first set of pit stops are any indication as to how far these guys can go, they should be stopping in the vicinity of lap 70. Now, give them a swing of maybe 2 to 4 laps on either side. That makes it 68 to 74. And the guys who really want to stretch it, or maybe the guys who have discovered by now they're getting pretty good gas mileage, may go to as high as lap 76, 77. So they're coming up in the near future. Bodine, by the way, with this rapid pace that he has been setting, is beginning to put a lap on some of the other cars now running in the top 10. So his pace has been so great, it's really working to his advantage in putting guys like Bobby Allison and Buddy Baker and Richard Petty at a real deficit here early in the race.
It's Ricky Rudd and Tim Richmond continuing to do battle out there. And this is for the 9th and 10th position, Ricky Rudd and Tim Richmond.
They really have been testing each other. Now, the last time we looked at them, Ricky seemed to have the advantage in terms of setup, but Tim Richmond was really driving hard, but Ricky was just kind of cruising along out there and keeping up with Tim, but we'll see how it goes this time around.
While we watch the action on the track, we'll tell you that Richard Petty has come in for a pit stop in his 43 STP Pontiac, and Kyle Petty is also in a considerable distance behind his father, but both Pettys into the pits for a stop.
And here comes Ricky Rudd as we watch him come off of turn number 3.
Ricky was one of the early ones to pit on the first stop, and now he's among the first to pit here on the second stop. 66 laps have been completed now.
He really comes ripping in there. They want to do some work real quick.
Let's go down to Jackaroo.
What they're doing this time, gentlemen, is changing the left side tires. Remember, this has been under green, and there's a one-tire rule. So they've gone to the right sides. On the first stop, they've gone to the left sides this time. They're taking on 22 gallons of fuel. He's off and away in 12.9 seconds. Again, an excellent stop by the Bud Moore team.
No kidding. Less than 13 seconds for 2 tires and a tank full of fuel. There is Richard Petty coming out in that STP Pontiac, number 43. He had just been lapped before he went into the pits, was running in 15th spot.
Well, at least temporarily, Rudd is a lap down. Harry Gann is the next car among the top 10 who comes into the pits. Rudd making an excellent stop, though, less than 13 seconds, as Jack told you. That's really going to hold them in pretty good stead when the rest of the leaders come in. I think Ricky's probably going to pick up a couple of seconds on everybody.
Well, the pace has just been tremendous here this afternoon, and quite honestly, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a yellow to this point, because it is hot down there, and you would think that a driver perhaps loses concentration for a second and spins the car, whatever, but nothing of that nature so far in the first 67 laps of this race. Gann pulling back out onto the racetrack. Bodine continues to lead and is not pitting this time around.
Talk about quick pit stops. Now, Bob, I just glanced when Harry came in. I glanced away and glanced back. I don't think they changed the tires on that car. I think they just gave it some fuel and shoved them back out again. Or maybe left side tires were changed. Okay.
And he went 82.5 miles on that tank of fuel. Harry Gann did. So he's getting pretty good gas mileage. And Jeff Bodine has opened up the interval between himself and Bill Elliott here as they move down the Long Pond straightaway, rather. You can see it's, several car lengths. In fact, it's almost half of the distance of that Long Pond straightaway.
You know, at this stage of the race, Bob, I've always had kind of a theory, and I've never really seen it employed that much, that when you are running close with somebody, and we are certainly less than halfway in this race, when you're getting ready to stop in the pit, why not hold back a little bit? Because if you both perform well during the pit stop and you stay within, maybe 15 or 20 car lengths on the racetrack, for the most part, both of you can get out just about together. But if you go in bumper to bumper, that seems to me like it just increases the opportunity for an incident to happen. So if you're getting ready for a pit stop, unless you're losing ground, maybe that's a good idea to hold back just a touch, just a feather off that throttle, and give yourself and as well as the guy in front of you room to get around.
Jeff Bodine, the leader of this race, started in 5th position, while Bill Elliott, who is running second, was the pole sitter with a new track record on Friday morning at over 152 miles an hour. Richard Petty is not only into the pits, he is pulling behind the wall and back to his garage area. Richard Petty out of the race.
Well, Richard Petty is employing the engines that are being constructed in Dan Gurney's shop, the Curb Racing Enterprises engines for the 1985. And and they've had some questions about that. Richard has been watching the situation very carefully. Whenever he has the opportunity to be around Mike, he gives him a lot of attention.
Well, the Harry Hyde-led Levi Garrett pit crew waiting on their driver, Jeff Bodine, to come in for the stop. He's the leader of the race. Jack Arute is standing by for a live call of this pit stop. Jeff Bodine hurries into the pit area. Here's Jack Arute.
Once again, Harry Hyde tries to slow Jeff Bodine down, get him to hit the mark. He does. The crew goes to work. A change here. Look, now they're going to the right side tires. They're going to work on the same set of tires they changed the last time in. Bodine looks over to his wife, Kathy, gives her a wink through the goggles. They're taking on fuel. No chassis adjustments that we can see. And he's off and away in 15.3 seconds. Fairly consistent with his last stop.
And Jeff Bodine went 92.5 miles on that tank full of fuel. Bill Elliott did not come in. He's the leader of the race, but will undoubtedly be coming in just momentarily, if not this next time around. There is Elliott back on the backstretch in the tunnel turn. And among others, Phil Parsons is in for a pit stop. So several of the top 10 competitors are coming in for their second stop of the day. There is Phil Parsons in number 66. He slides to a halt, and the crew goes to work on that car with rubber on the right side. Jack Mann raising the car. The tire changers going to work. Meanwhile, at the rear of the vehicle, fuel is being put in. The windshield is being wiped off. The tire man in the front has completed his job. Now the rear man also does, and they're going also to the left side of the car to change rubber on that side.
Obviously, they must have a problem because we're under green flag condition, and as Jack Arute just told you, you can't do that. At least the way the new rules are and the way they are adjusted. So Phil, who's been running in the top 10, has been just a touch off the pace with the leader. Obviously felt some vibration or something very serious on the left side.
Not a bad stop at all, considering the fact that all four tires were changed on that car. There is Bill Elliott, the leader of the race now. Jeff Bodine came in for his second stop, but Elliott has not been in for his second. And we anticipate him coming in very shortly. Tim Richmond is also in for a pit stop. Again, we have had no yellow flags in this race, so all these stops under green.
92 miles on Jeff Bodine's stop, and I would venture to guess as we watch Tim Richmond, Barry Dotson and crew servicing him and sending him along his way, they were probably 92 calculated miles. But the big question now becomes, what about Bill Elliott? He's still out there, Bob. He has gone, I don't know what the calculation is, but it must be somewhere in the vicinity of 94, 96 miles to this point.
It was 92 and a half or 10. Bill is still out there, so it's going to be more than that. Getting good gas mileage in that Ford product.
There are Labonte and Waltrip, who will run in third position, I would imagine, unofficially running on the racetrack together as we watch Elliott. Cale Yarborough is coming in at pits.
Cale running in sixth spot, coming in. Waltrip, Labonte, and Elliott have not pitted. Neither has Ron Bouchard, who's running in the top 10, and Benny Parsons has not come in. And Cale Yarborough, we understand, has only gone 90 miles on this tank full of fuel. Rubber being changed on the left side. And they're just about to push him away. There it is in just slightly less than 16 seconds to stop for Cale Yarborough.
Red stop is looking real impressive. He's been running out of the top 5, but as we told you, it looks like he's going to pick up 2 or 3 seconds on the rest of the field. I tell you what, he has. Everybody else has been coming in about 15, 16 seconds.
Elliott still has not made the pit stop. There he is in corner number 1. Neither has the second or third place runners at this point. But Bobby Allison is in, so is Buddy Baker. Those two drivers running at least in the top 15. And Elliott staying out there on the throttle.
Well, you got to smile, Bob, when you watch this team. These guys got something going. They're very fast. They get good gas mileage here. We've seen everybody else, most everybody else, come into the pits for fuel. We know it's time. It's like you're anticipating this time bomb to go off, and it keeps clicking past 0, and nothing happens. They really have got something going this year in terms of that engine. Not only are they fast, but they've got some secrets that nobody else has discovered.
Here he comes. Nope.
That was a fooler, wasn't it?
I'm not sure he was slowing down. He's got Jimmy Means right ahead of him in car number 52, but Elliott blows by him right at the start-finish line, moves down into turn number 1, and now we see Terry Labonte pitting. Labonte running in third spot. There he is, moving into the pit area. Terry Labonte screeching to a halt. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
And Labonte's right side is up. They're going to change the 2 right side tires, 2 cans of fuel in, and right now, Bill Elliott is still on the racetrack. Labonte has historically got very good gas mileage, but apparently Elliott is even doing better.
Well, again, it was about 92.5 miles on that tank full of fuel for Terry Labonte, and the pit stop was completed in 13.9 seconds.
Bob, we figure that he should maybe be able to go 100 miles on a load of fuel, so maybe it's not all that shocking that Bill Elliott is still out there. Everybody else has come in because it seems like the right time to do it. They are calculated stops, as we mentioned earlier. Elliott stopped for the last time on lap number 38. We're on lap number 76 right now, so he still hasn't gone 40 laps on this load of fuel, which would be 100 miles.
Neil Bonnet is moving into the pits rather slowly. Could he be out of fuel? It looks like that he does have power in that car, but he's moving relatively slowly into the pits. Let's go down once again to Dick Berggren.
Bonnet is just taking what appears to be a normal stop, except they are spraying ether under the carburetor. The engine apparently had died. It's now taken fire again. He's got a good ding on the right front fender. Apparently he's made contact with someone out there. They're also adjusting his chassis, and they're apparently getting ready to change a tire on the left front as well as the right front. And the left rear tire as well gets changed. So a very long pit stop right now for the 12 car. He's still up, and there he goes.
Bob, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a fuel problem, just a guess, because Neil did stop on lap 35. He went 35 laps that time, so they have not been getting the mileage that they wanted to get out of this Chevrolet up to this point in the season, so that may have been a fuel problem, as Dick mentioned, spraying ether and get the engine fired back up.
3 cars in the top 10 have not made now 2 cars as Darrell Waltrip comes in, but Elliott and Ron Bouchard have not come in for pit stops. Those are the only 2 that have not made their second stop. Here is Darrell Waltrip, as we indicated, making his second stop, and they're changing on the left side. Clock ticks away as the crew fills the car with fuel. There it is. It's a 13-second stop for Darrell Waltrip, and the tires were replaced only on the left side. And Ron Bouchard comes in, so now only Bill Elliott has not come in for a pit stop.
Darrell Waltrip, who is coming off one of the most financially rewarding weekends in the career of any race driver, won a couple of major races at Charlotte Motor Speedway a couple weeks ago.
There's Ron Bouchard, and they're jacking some weight in that car, making a chassis adjustment. And he screeches out of the pit area, back onto the racetrack. Ron Bouchard has completed his second stop of the day, and now we will look at Bill Elliott to find out where he is on the racetrack and if he's going to be stopping for a pit stop. There he is. He's just outside of turn number 1, going down the long pond straightaway.
You know, Bob, we saw the Coors man on the right rear again for Ronnie Bouchard. We talked to Ron a little earlier about all the fuel changes.
That could be the situation. Now Bill Elliott is over the tunnel turn onto the north straightaway, 1,780 feet in length. He's got Kyle Petty right beside him. Now he passes Kyle Petty and puts another lap on him, moving the car down to the inside of corner number 3 now.
Bob, if he stays out anymore, I'll be impressed. This lap makes lap number 40 that he's been on this load of fuel. That's 100 miles by our unofficial calculation. We had him stopping on lap 38. Now it's lap 78. So every mile he stays out there now, it's above 100 miles. Now we start really getting impressed, considering the fact that he's leading too and obviously going faster than everybody else.
And you don't want to run out of fuel at this racetrack. You just simply cannot take the chance of being stalled out there several miles even from the pit area. On a high bank super speedway, you can certainly let the bank carry you and gain some momentum down to the pit area, but on this flat racetrack, you can run out any place along here on the track. You simply cannot coast into the pit area. We believe that Bill Elliott is going to be coming in for a stop next time around.
But if your calculations are good, it can be a real advantage, because remember, when you're low on fuel, the car is lighter and you can run just a little quicker at that point.
Let's see if he slows the car down here coming off of turn number 3, or if he chooses to stay out there. He's finally coming in. Here is Bill Elliott, the leader, coming in for the stop. Dick Berggren will be calling this stop by our leader from Dawsonville, Georgia, Bill Elliott.
And Elliott is in the pit area. They're going to change the right side tires on his car. Brother Ernie went right up to the front of the grill. Elliott made a perfect stop. Right side tires off, new ones on their way to going back on again. Boy, there was a day when the Fords didn't get good gas mileage, but these gentlemen have surely solved that problem. He's the last of the leaders to take his pit stop.
And the stop was a little over 14 seconds, and Bill Elliott is back out there on the racetrack. And the number 5 car now of Jeff Bodine will be the leader. Elliott lost the lead during that pit stop. Bodine picks up the first spot.
Boy, he really needed to have a quick pit stop, didn't he? I mean, here's the car, along with Jeff Bodine, who have been the speed merchants of today, and they have one of the better pit stops.
Well, we've been impressed for many years now, and especially very recently, about the quickness with which the crews can change tires and fuel up a car. Benny Parsons' crew demonstrated for us how it was done. Here is Benny moving in for a stop, and the crew going to work changing rubber on the right side of the car and fake fuel being put in. Now you can see the clock ticking off the seconds in the upper right corner of the screen. The tires being put on and the jack lowers in 14.9 seconds. Now you're going to see a real professional crew. Wendell Grigley, our pit producer here, is the sign man. On the right rear, yours truly. And Larry Newber is the gas man. Dan Laycock, associate producer, is the jack man. And Jack Arute is changing the right front. Boy, look at those seconds tick off.
Piece of cake, right?
What's taking so long anyway?
Jack man. No, he's busy doing something
Well,
else.
Arute's doing okay. Benny Parsons getting impatient with me. I'm the only one that still has some work to do, and I just can't seem to get those plug nuts on. Boy. Thank you.
What a mess.
Lost me a lap there. 2 laps.
Well, it was 33 seconds. Not bad at all for a bunch of, what?
I think it was driver error, wasn't it? Not crew error.
Must have been, yeah. 81 laps completed. The Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. Jeff Bodine is the leader. We'll be right back. Speed Week every Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. A recap of what happened the previous weekend and a look at all the news in the world of motorsports. Join Larry and me for Speed Week this Thursday evening at 7:30 on ESPN. Richard Petty was out of the race. Ricky Rudd moved in for a pit stop. So did Jeff Bodine as his crew waited for him. Then Jeff came in while leading. But after all was said and done and all the pit stops were completed, Jeff Bodine hangs on to the lead, and he is shown in the top spot here with 83 laps completed. We're nearing the halfway point of this event, and Bodine has looked very strong in the first almost half of this race as we go down to Jack Arute, who is with the king, Richard Petty.
While Richard Petty drives the STP Pontiac, he also endorses a headache powder. And Richard, looks like you need one of those today.
Yeah, we had to take a handful of goodies today, that's for sure. It's just been, all week long we didn't run good, and then when the race started, we've seen how bad we did run, and then after we run a few laps there, run, 150 mile, 200 mile, and broke a rocker arm, so thing got to vibrating so bad, we felt like we didn't need to, to run the thing. We came in, we found it. But this is kind of a racetrack. If you fix the rocker arm and you go back out and run, you're still going to be 31st place because there's not a lot of cars fall out up here, so we decided to park it today.
Now, you were telling me while we were waiting here that you do not think that Jeff Bodine is the quickest race car. You think that the old guy, the Huckleberry Finn, is playing with the competition out there, namely Bill Elliott.
Well, when they come by me, they passed me right before I broke the engine. And, I just sat there and watched them for 4 or 5 laps, and Bill's running real cautious. He's not racing with anybody. He's just sort of idling along, and Jeff's just fighting at every lick and, doing everything he can to try to stay in front. But when Bill gets ready to go, if they're that close, he'll just drive on.
Well, that's the assessment from the king. Got to watch the rest of the race from his throne.
All right, well, that's kind of been the opinion that I have had here for the last few laps. Bodine is leading, but boy, Bill Elliott is just very cautiously watching what's going on in second position, not letting Jeff get too far ahead. The question is, can he pass him at any time that he wants to? We'll answer that later. Right now, this Messages. We'll be right back.
Isuzu was building off-road vehicles before Japan was building roads. Isuzu Trooper 2 from the first car builders of Japan.
I refinished this beautiful piece all by myself, and I can't even change a light bulb.
Formby's furniture refinisher can make a believer out of you because it works unlike anything you've ever seen. It dissolves old varnish lacquer shellac without stripping, sanding, or scraping. With my furniture refinisher, it's a pleasure to create a treasure.
Homer Formby. No one knows wood as good.
And remember to try my stains. Their unique tung oil formula provides a rich, deep color you'll be proud to show off.
Live USFL football leads off tomorrow's total sports lineup. The New Jersey Generals host the Jacksonville Bulls in our exclusive Monday night matchup. Auto Racing 85 is next with the IMSA GT Series. The next stop on the circuit is Lime Rock, Connecticut. Don't miss the action. It's all happening tomorrow.
We are back at Pocono for the Diamond Mines 500. Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott running first and second here into the tunnel turn number 2. Now, we may answer the question as to whether or not Bill Elliott can take the lead in 14 more laps, because that will mark the halfway point of this race, lap number 100. And the leader of the 100th lap will receive $10,000 from the Barclay American Corporation. So perhaps Bill has $10,000 on his mind and will be taking the lead here momentarily. As a matter of fact, he's closing in on Jeff Bodine rapidly as they come down the straightaway, completing lap number 87. So in 13 more laps, we'll have the halfway point and the leader of that lap picking up $10,000.
It does create another finish in the middle of this race, doesn't it? Let's talk about Elliott. We'll watch it closely and see if he can move around on Jeff. In his last 10 super speedway starts, those are race tracks of more than 1 mile in length, he has won 7 times. He finished second once in Atlanta last November. He was just a half a second behind. He crashed at Rockingham this March, and at Charlotte, he had all kinds of noisy problems and ended up 21 laps down. But 7 times out of the last 10, he has won an amazing total of $561,000 he's won just in those 10 races between last October and this May 26th in Charlotte. Those are just the super speedways.
This is his 159th career Grand National start. His finish last year in this race was a 4th in the other Pocono race that's held each year. Bill Elliott finished 3rd last year.
Bobby's sniffing around. He looked down low on Jeff, and now he pointed up high this time around. He knows he's got 10 or 11 laps to go. I would guess that one of the best places for him to pass, if it is horsepower that he is up on, is to draft Jeff coming out of turn number 3 and then blow him off going down the front stretch going into turn number 1.
Battling for 11th and 12th position, Buddy Baker, car number 88, and the Miller American, driven by Bobby Allison, car number 22, moving down into turn number 1.
Now, they have slipped a lap down to the leaders, Bodine and Elliott, whom we were watching, but Baker, whom we erroneously earlier reported out of the race, there was another white car that ducked behind the pit wall. He has not dropped out of the race, nor has he lost any laps. So Elliott, or rather Baker and Allison are on the racetrack together, and they are 1 lap down to the leaders.
Buddy Baker, hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina. He is 44 years of age. And Bobby Allison right behind him in car number 22. Now Allison sneaking up, going to the inside out of turn number 2, and Bobby Allison picking up the position. Allison moves to 11th, dropping Baker back to 12th.
Two of the all-time leaders in terms of number of wins. Bobby Allison with 81 wins is ranked 3rd in all-time winners, and Buddy Baker has won 19 times. So there they are, strange paint back again.
Yeah, Baker would have none of that. He is pulled alongside and moved slightly ahead of Allison as they come down the straightaway. Now they move side by side into corner number 1. Something's going to have to give here.
I think it's going to have to be Bobby. No, I'm wrong.
Allison with the momentum, carrying him back into the 11th spot. Baker backing off the throttle. throttle just momentarily, but now as they move out of corner number 1, Baker once again moves to the inside alongside Bobby Allison and takes the position back.
Baker seems to have the hotter setup going down the straightaways, and Allison catches back up in the corners. 100 Grand National stock car wins between the two of them. There's Buddy Baker, the gentle giant, as he is known to a lot of people, but 100, that's pretty impressive. Grand National wins. It's so tough to win even one race in this league, as Bobby Allison shown there will attest to, and these two guys have shared the victory podium, well, not shared it, but between the two of them, 100 times.
We talk about career starts. This is Buddy Baker's 613th career start in a Grand National car. Baker holding on to that 11th position now as they complete another lap. We've completed 90 laps now. We're 10 away from the halfway point and the $10,000.
And in terms of career starts, as Buddy Baker signals to Bobby Allison that time, hey, Bobby, why don't you stay back there? We'll draft a little bit. Bobby Allison, number 2 on the all-time list for the number of career starts. He, too, has started over 600 times, 620 to be exact.
Buddy Baker started this race in 19th position this afternoon, and Bobby Allison began the day from a 11th starting position. So Baker has gained more positions than Bobby Allison in the first half of this race.
Well, both of these guys are ranked really high, as you might guess, in terms of dollars won. Buddy Baker, $2,800,000, 7th on the all-time list for dollars won, and Bobby Allison right now ranked second with $5,583,000.
Those guys are just still going at it out there. They're bumper to bumper and side by side all the way around this racetrack almost. Baker holding on to the position here. Now 91 laps completed, and we will be back with more of our live coverage on ESPN's Auto Racing 85 after these messages. Honda Motorcycles. Honda, follow the leader. We are a little more than 5 laps away from the halfway point of the Diamond Mine 500. We're at lap number 94. There are Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott, who have been running first and second in this race for most of it. And again, the question becomes, can Bill Elliott take the lead before lap number 100, lead lap number 100, and pick up $10,000? Or will Jeff Bodine do so?
What would you do, Bob, if you had the horsepower to get it done? Do you think you would have got it done by now, or wait for a couple laps as we complete lap number 95 this time? I don't know. I have a feeling I kind of like to get it out of the way.
Well, you figure if Bill Elliott knows he can do it, he probably will wait a while, but perhaps he can't do it. We really don't know. There is Bodine going to the inside of Dave Marcus, who moves out of the way going into turn 1, and Bill Elliott also passing by. But I'm not so sure at this point that Elliott can do it.
By the way, I am also not real sure about one thing, but I think there's a little bit of damage on the right front with the headlight gate on Jeff Bodine's car. I think he's made contact with somebody out there.
There are Benny Parsons and Ricky Rudd battling for position, and they are in a tussle for 8th and 9th spot. Benny's been running right around 7th, 8th, and 9th most of the afternoon, battling with different drivers. Right now involved in the fray with Ricky Rudd, and right behind Rudd is Kyle Petty.
Now, this racetrack has been pretty good to Benny Parsons. Of the veteran NASCAR drivers who come here to race at Pocono all the time and through the years, really, Benny Parsons has done just about as well as anybody. This has been a good racetrack for Ben, and he had some confidence this week. You could see him as he glided around the pit area during practice and qualifications.
Benny Parsons from Ellerby, North Carolina, running in 8th spot. Right behind him, Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, number 15 Motorcraft Ford.
And you can see Kyle Petty in there, but Kyle has lost a lap. We're down to 10 cars that are still on the lead lap, and these are the 8th and 9th place cars right here with Kyle just trailing along behind.
And there's a look at Benny Parsons, who has helped us on occasion on our ESPN broadcast, and there's a good look at Ricky Rudd, former Rookie of the Year and winner on the Grand National Circuit.
Well, Benny won here, if I can get it out, back in 1978. He won what was then called the Light Cola 500. That's obviously his best performance here. But he's also qualified up near the front on many occasions. As we mentioned, this racetrack just seems to be conducive to his driving style, and he's had also good fortune.
He, of course, would like to pick up a victory 7th today here. And last year in this race, Benny finished in 9th spot.
It seemed for a while that the victory is going to be spread over only a very select few, but it's begun to loosen up a little bit here in the last couple weeks. Labande's picked up a win. Waltrip's picked up a win, and maybe we're looking again toward between 10 and 12 people winning races this year.
All right, when they come by this time, it'll be the completion of lap number 98. We'll have 2 more to go before the halfway point. Elliott appears can pull right up on the back bumper of Jeff Bodine in the corners, but Bodine is able to stretch out the advantage a little bit down the straightaways. There you can see the interval opening up just a little.
Bill losing a little bit of the handle coming around turn number 3. I think he knows what lap it is and what's coming up. You can see he lost some ground to Bodine. Bodine coming up on heavy traffic. There's Jimmy Means right in front of him. They go to the high side of J.D. McDuffie, by the way, in a Ford this week, incidentally. Bodine seems to get around J.D. pretty well. Jimmy Means drops down low, moves out of the way, and Jeff hit those guys off real easily. He didn't lose any ground at all.
There's the Harry Hyde-led crew of Jeff Bodine as they watch their driver, and the Coors crew, headed by the Elliott brothers, watching their brother, Bill, running in 2nd spot. Well, in the first 98 laps, Jeff Bodine has led 78. Bill Elliott has led 16 laps, and Darrell Waltrip has led 4 laps. By the way, Waltrip continues to run in 3rd spot, and Terry Labonte continues to run 4th. Now we come up on lap number 99. This time down will be the completion of lap 99. Elliott right on the back bumper now of Jeff Bodine. They come down.
I would have thought, Bob, this would have been a place right here on this lap.
1 more lap to go, and the leader will collect $10,000. Let's see what Elliott does. It's obvious that he knows what's at stake. He goes to the inside of Jeff Bodine in corner number 1. Now they're side by side going into it. Jeff Bodine gets squirrely in turn number 2 and almost loses it, but gathers it in. A nice move by Jeff Bodine. However, Bill Elliott did get around and is looking for $10,000 next time they cross the stripe.
The next tricky place is over the tunnel turn. There's a bump right there. You lose some momentum. You've got to. Bill takes it smoothly so far. Here it comes over the hill. Both of them right on track over the tunnel turn down a short straight. Now 1 more long sweeping corner. Can Jeff draft back?
Well, I think Bodine would certainly like to show Elliott that he didn't appreciate what happened down there in turn number 1.
Oh, Bill's out of the groove.
Oh, he's way high. Almost loses it. Will he spin? Well, he gathered it in, but Bodine grabs back the lead, and Jeff Bodine is going to collect $10,000. There it is. Bodine took over the lead in the 3rd corner as Bill Elliott got way high, and I thought he was going to lose it, Larry.
He got out of the groove relatively early in that corner. It doesn't have a decreasing radius, but it's a radius that keeps going on and on and on. And as the turn came around, Bill kept getting a little further out of the groove, and finally he got way up in the gray stuff and almost lost it.
A little ceremony going on as the balloons are released from the infield. Barclay American awarding $10,000 to the leader of the 100th lap, Jeff Bodine. So even if he can't win this race, he's certainly proven that the car is strong, and he can pick up at least $10,000 in this afternoon.
I must admit, that was an exciting lap, that little sachet over there out of turn number 1. There was some contact, I think, between the 2 cars, and then Bill really getting just a little too high coming out of turn number 3.
Well, let's take another look at what happened. There they are going into the 3rd corner, and Elliott way out of shape.
Well, Bob, you know, it seems like these cars are running around smoothly, but this gives you an idea how much on the ragged edge they really are every lap around here, even when it looks easy going to the people in the stands or to those of you at home. They are, believe me, working hard and sweating every second of the time and right on the edge.
Well, Harry Hyde has been watching the progress of his driver. Let's go to the pit area. Harry is with Jack Arute.
Well, it was a payday lap for Harry Hyde and Jeff Bodine. For a minute there, going down into the 1st turn, it looked like you were going to lose 10 grand. But by the time they came back to the stripe, Harry, Jeff had the lap back.
Well, we knew he was going to try, and we've been playing it pretty cool and not trying to overrun the car. And we were planning on him making a move on a 99th lap because that $10,000 lap that Barclays America has up is a real important lap, and we felt like we were able to get it this time. And we sort of owed that to our boss, Rick Hendricks, and we certainly wanted to pay him back today.
Well, the payback was at 10 grand right here at the start-finish line.
And now Bodine is taking off like a jackrabbit. He's put a car between himself and Bill Elliott and has stretched out the advantage to several car lengths. The car between the 1st and 2nd place lost it in turn 1, gathers it back in, and passes Elliott, who almost loses it in corner number 3 on the 100 lap.
Still no caution flag. We are coming upon the point of the race for the next series of pit stops. If the pattern continues, Bodine will be coming in 6 laps, patterning established in pit stop 1 and 2.
So we're settled back now for the second half of this Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. Jeff Bodine, the leader. Bill Elliott, second. Darrell Waltrip is in third spot. Terry Labonte is in fourth, followed by Harry Gant, then Cale Yarborough and Ron Bouchard. Back after these messages with more live coverage. What's happened so far? We started this race with Bill Elliott on the pole at a new record, 152.563 miles an hour. Right now, Bill Elliott rests in second position. Outside of row number 1 was the number 33 Skull Bandit Chevrolet of Harry Gant. He's now in 5th position. Our Coney mid-race recap shows that the time of the race so far, 1 hour, 43 minutes and 8 seconds. The average speed with no caution flags, 145.489. We have had 3 leaders and 5 lead changes. Those 3 leaders, Bodine, Waltrip, and Bill Elliott. Now the cars out of the race. Ronnie Thomas, Dale Earnhardt, Jerry Bowman, Rick Newsom, Joe Ruttman has retired. So has Richard Petty, Charles Palillo, and Bobby Gerhart. Those cars are out of the race. The top 10 after 100 laps, the leader Bodine, Elliott second, Waltrip third, Labonte fourth, Harry Gant is shown as fifth. The second 5 in 6th position, Cale Yarborough, then Ron Bouchard, Ricky Rudd, Benny Parsons, and Tim Richmond. We'll be right back with more of our live coverage from Pocono, Pennsylvania.
One shock absorber is so superior, it has been used by every world champion for 13 consecutive years. Coney. Coney. So superior, they're standard on every Ferrari, on every Aston Martin, on Mustang SVO. Coney, the ultimate performance shock. Adjustable for wear, guaranteed for life. Less body lean, more stability, crisper handling. Put the world's finest performance shocks on your car. Coney, proven superior.
What's America's favorite do-it-yourself faucet? Peerless. It goes in fast. It's built to last.
It's even warranted. It lasts a long, long time.
No tools to use. You just can't lose.
And look, it doesn't drip. It lasts a long, long time.
Peerless washerless faucet installs in no time.
It lasts a long time.
It lasts a long, long time. Peerless installs in no time. Lasts a long time.
The Honda Motor Company has been improving transportation for over 30 years. There are Hondas that ride in the street, Hondas that ride in the dirt, and now, Hondas that ride on the grass. Introducing the Honda Lawn Tractor. Test drive one at your Honda Lawn and Garden dealer.
Oh, my arm.
Rub something on it.
I got Ben Gay. I don't want to go back to work smelling like Ben Gay.
Don't. Try Sports Cream. It smells nice and clean.
Does it work?
Sports Cream has a strong, clinically tested pain reliever. It starts to penetrate immediately to relieve sore muscle pain.
No workout today?
Sure. I feel great. Why?
You, usually smell like Ben Gay.
Not anymore.
Sports Cream, the fast-acting pain reliever that smells great.
Jeff Bodine has pulled his Levi Garrett number 5 onto pit road, and finally, they go to the left side for an exchange of rubber. A problem on the left rear. The crewman is not able to get one of the lug nuts off. They finally do, but it's costing a lot of time. The rest of the crew has completed their task. He's attaching the 5 lug nuts at this time. They drop the jack, and he's away, but it was 22.9 seconds.
And other cars have also come in for their third pit stop. Terry Labonte has been in, so has Harry Gant. Cale Yarborough has been in, so has Ricky Rudd and Tim Richmond. Cale Yarborough is also in right now. And one of the cars that was running in the top 10 that has pulled behind the wall, Ron Bouchard. Apparently something is broken on that car. 90 miles on this tank full of fuel for Cale Yarborough. They refresh and push him out again.
And as we watch Cale, here comes Bill Elliott, and sad to report, Terry Labonte by that last time on the front stretch, not under full power. There may be a problem with Labonte's car.
Well, a close call there as some members of Bobby Hillen's crew were pushing him, and Elliott had to get on the brakes to avoid hitting them and getting into his pit. So here is the leader, Bill Elliott, in now for his third stop of the afternoon.
Right here.
And the rubber is being changed on both sides of the car, so this is going to be a relatively lengthy pit stop for Bill Elliott. He only went 75 miles on that tank full of gas. Last time he went 102.5.
Well, I think, Bob, he may have been concerned that he may have abused the car, and particularly the tires on that slide in turn number 4. And there's Labonte, we mentioned the last time by on the front stretch. He was not up to full speed. The car had a very sour sound to it. And now there's some telltale signs of smoke coming from behind that car and out of the exhaust pipe.
The leader in Winston Cup points, Terry Labonte, is in trouble here at Pocono. He has moved to the inside of the racetrack and going very slowly through corner number 3. Will be coming in for another pit stop, and it could be a terminal stop.
Boy, this will really jumble things up, Bob, because we've not had a caution flag yet, but so many people have stopped. A couple of people are going suddenly slower. They've been all day. It's almost like we're running under a caution flag condition here. This is really strange. It'll be interesting to see where everybody is positioned on the track as soon as all this confusion clears. I'm not really sure if it's Bodine is out front or if Elliott got out of the pits first, because both of them had some problems in the pits, and Darrell Waltrip, the guy running in third, he hasn't even come in yet.
Yeah, he is the clear leader at this point as Terry Labonte pulls behind the wall. Waltrip is definitely the leader at this point because he has not made the pit stop. Unfortunately, Terry Labonte's day is over. Darrell Waltrip remains out on the racetrack. There he is in the back stretch. By the way, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department has estimated the attendance this afternoon at over 90,000 here. So, as we indicated, a very good crowd on hand here this afternoon for this 500-mile Grand National race. And Waltrip stays out there.
Well, the last lap that he pitted was lap 76. That seemed to be pretty much on pattern. He had gone 38 laps for the first stop, then 38 more laps to lap number 76. But he has shown everybody exactly what he can do this time, because 38 laps on to 76, let's see, that would have been 114. No, he may well be on pattern. He may well be right on the course that they had originally plotted. Everybody else came in earlier for this time for a variety of reasons. I think maybe Bodine kind of set the pace for that. He was also on schedule, but being the leader of the race, he came in. A lot of the other people came in, but Waltrip is perhaps on schedule.
2 wins this year in Winston Cup competition, and Darrell Waltrip has won twice here at Pocono. Now, he has never won this particular race, but he has won the second race at Pocono on 2 different occasions. So Waltrip looking for his 3rd victory here this afternoon.
This time he ducks down low. There goes Buddy Baker on the high side, and Darrell is coming in. It's off 2 laps ahead of schedule, as a matter of fact.
Well, watch this pit stop now as Waltrip continues to move through the pit area, but is slowing down, ready for the Junior Johnson crew to come over the wall and to give him service for the 3rd time this afternoon. Windshield is being wiped off. Fuel in the rear of the car. Let's go down to Dick Berggren.
Well, Waltrip did. He's taking just right-side tires so far. This is a well-discussed pit stop. Junior Johnson's crew is right next to Bill Elliott's crew, and they certainly watched Elliott change 4 tires. They had quite a conversation about whether they should do the same thing. Right now, right behind Waltrip, Neil Bonnet is just in for his stop.
And let's go to the other end of the pit area now for a report from Jack Arute.
Well, we're actually in the garage area, gentlemen, with one of the retirees. Ron Bouchard, the Valvoline Buick, didn't quite cut the mustard today.
No, it really didn't, Jackie. We were hoping to run good today. You know, earlier in the race, the Valvoline Buick run well, and Jake was working on it, trying to get it better, and we kept progressing, and then about 100 laps or 102 laps into the race, they just found out now it broke a camshaft.
How frustrating has this year been for you, Ron?
Very. You know, we've run about 14 or 15 races, and I think I finished 2, so, you know, it's been a rough year on us, and, you know, we're just hoping to turn around, but, you know, our luck has been bad, and we've had some changes in our operation, and we're just hoping that things will turn for us here.
Good racers always look to the next one. That's the case for Ron Bouchard. We'll be back in a little while as we seek out the current points leader, who's also retired. Of course, that's Terry Labonte.
Waltrip, because of that good pit stop, is shown as the leader on the scoreboard, but we believe that Jeff Bodine is the leader at this point, and Darrell Waltrip is running in second position. So, in any case, Richard Petty in the STP Pontiac is out of the race. Nevertheless, we present an STP pit stop.
This is another STP pit stop. I'm Larry Nuber. We're talking with the man who, well, has been one of the fastest drivers in the history of the world, but all of it's been on the racetrack, Richard Petty. Richard, 200 miles an hour. Is there any way to put that into words?
Well, really, when we run at 200 mile an hour, we usually run in a big arena, like Daytona, Talladega. A lot of times we run racetracks that we run 100 mile an hour on, and the track is smaller, and you really get more sensation of speed. In other words, speed is irrelevant to what your surroundings are, and if you're way out in the country, you know, like running on the interstate, if you're running 65 on the interstate, it doesn't feel fast, but if you're running 65 in town, it feels real fast.
Even though it seems relatively calm, it's based on the surroundings, is it violent out there at 200 miles an hour?
Well, I think the violence comes when anything happens. You know, where we run and do our racing, we run in, say, 200 mile an hour, and we run against another car that's running 195 mile an hour, so again, it's all in relationship to how fast you are running with the competition. But when it really gets violent is if something happens in front of you and you run 200 mile an hour and you just try to miss it, then it comes up so quick that a lot of times you don't miss it, but your reflexes and everything has to build up to a 200 mile an hour situation, so you've got to know that you are running that fast.
Richard, 200 miles an hour on a super speedway, does it really seem that much faster than, say, 55 on the highway?
Yeah, it seems right smart faster. No matter how big the racetrack is, you still get a sensation of speed. And traveling 200 mile an hour is not like 65 or not like 100, but again, the racetrack is bigger. You miss a lot of the sensation, but you go into one of those corners at 190, 95 mile an hour, then you know you're running real fast.
One of the fastest drivers in the history of the world, Richard Petty. This has been another STP Pit Stop. I'm Larry Nuber.
Racing engines run hot. STP oil treatment fights the effects of heat in racing cars. Your car runs hot, too. In everyday driving, heat weakens your oil's vital protective properties. That's motor oil breakdown. STP fights motor oil breakdown. STP strengthens your oil, putting extra lubricants and anti-wear agents to work just where they're needed. Whenever you change or add oil, get STP oil treatment and fight motor oil.
Bob Jenkins, Larry Nuber, Dick Bergeron, and Jack Arute back at the Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. The top six with 117 laps completed. Jeff Bodine is the leader. Waltrip is second, followed by Bill Elliott. Fourth is Harry Gant. Fifth is Cale Yarborough, and sixth is Phil Parsons. The points leader in Winston Cup competition, Terry Labonte, is out of the race. He's with Jack Arute.
Indeed the leader of the Winston Cup Brigade at this time, but it'll be a question mark after this race. What finally put you out?
I don't really know. It might have broke a piston or something. The car was running pretty good, and then all of a sudden it started missing and blowing oil out the breathers. It was still running, but it lost a cylinder, and, you know, it was just smoking real bad.
When you know that an engine goes afoul like that and you're running at competitive speeds, what do you as a driver have to do?
Well, you don't ever know what's going to happen, you know, and, you know, you've got to come in and see what's wrong in case the thing's going to actually blow up on the track and, you know, cause some problems for everybody else.
A tough way to come back from California where you grabbed your first victory. What's ahead for the team?
Well, I know it, but that's the way it goes, and, you know, we just have to try again next week.
Well, you can be sure the Piedmont Airlines team will keep trying and trying and trying until they get it right.
All right, Jeff Bodine is the leader of this race, and I'm no meteorologist, but it sure looks rainy back over the third turn, and the forecast was for showers and thunderstorms late this afternoon. We don't have to worry about this race being postponed or anything because we're beyond the halfway point, but it's looking very dark and possibly rainy back in the whatever direction that is. I guess that's the west.
Well, one of the factors here at Pocono many times in the past has been the weather. It changes very rapidly. Sometimes clouds creep over the mountains. They get lodged between the hillsides, and they just sit here on the racetrack and rain all over it. You It gets very hot. It can get cooled down very quickly. There's always seemingly some type of extreme, too, when you come to Pocono. So that has been a factor here at Pocono. Benny Parsons, by the way, was the man among the top 10 who went the furthest. What'd you come up with, Bob? Almost 105
102 and a half, yeah.
Miles. Just one lap away from 105 miles did Benny Parsons go before he had to stop.
Other cars that are still out there in competition include Lenny Pond in car number 17, the Hesco exhaust McCord gasket Chevrolet. Lenny from Chester, Virginia.
Yeah, Lenny picked up this ride because Kenny Reagan, of course, received a broken neck in an ARCA crash a few weeks ago, and so he has this ride until Kenny is able to cure.
And by the way, we might say that Ken is doing well, and we wish him a speedy recovery from those injuries.
Good point. And it was interesting that Lenny was a candidate among a number of people for this ride, and he was selected in the consultation with the sponsor, Scott Magnuson, as well as the car owner, Roger Hanby, over a number of candidates. They felt that he would be the best person for them for this ride for the rest of the year.
One of those battling for Rookie of the Year honors this year is Ken Schrader, number 90, the Junie Donlevy car, the Ultra Seal Ford. Ken, of course, hails from Fenton, Missouri, former open-wheel driver. In fact, he still drives open-wheel cars whenever he wants to, but concentrating most of his effort on the Grand National Tour this year.
Matter of fact, Bob, there was a picture of him on the cover of one of the racing publications, the regional publications this week, showing him in a modified racer that he was competing in on a Friday night back home near the St. Louis area, the weekend when there was not a Grand National race. You know, he hasn't really been a threat to win yet this year, but I think it's been a successful season. They've made some progress. They have been a consistent top 15 car. He's got 3 top 10 or 10th place finishes, including last week at Riverside on the road course, which is a surface that without a doubt is going to be foreign to Kenny.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good year for Ken Schrader, and as we indicated, he is the leader in Winston Cup Rookie of the Year points. Now, the leader continues to be Jeff Bodine, and Bill Elliott has fallen to 3rd place. You got to feel like that incident there on the 99th lap as they were coming down for the 100th, in which Elliott got out of shape a little bit, has had some effect on the outcome of this race, or may have some effect, because Elliott has been able to put Darrell Waltrip now between himself and the leader, Jeff Bodine. We'll be back with more of our live coverage from Pocono, Pennsylvania, and the Diamond Mine 500 after this.
Do you remember the very first car, or maybe it was a pickup that you drove? Not a race car, but the first time you sat behind the wheel of a motorized vehicle?
Yeah, I do. I really don't remember it that well. I've been told about it. It was behind the wheel of a big Mercury station wagon, and I didn't sit behind the wheel. I stood behind the wheel. I was about, I guess, 2 years old or 3 maybe, and it had those push button, instead of gear shift, it had the push button, neutral and park and drive. It was sitting on just a little grade. My dad went into the dealer where he got the car at, and I stood up behind the wheel, punched the button, and off down the street we went. As I stood in the seat and come out and looked down, and I was about a half a block down.
First car I ever drove wasn't a car at all. It was a pickup truck. It was an old Dodge pickup truck that I had to take one of my mother's wash tubs and turn upside down in the seat to be able to see out of the steering wheel. And it was back on the farm back in South Carolina, and I was about 4 or 5 years old, so I started early.
Boy, I had a lot of cars. I really don't remember. I think it was a Hudson Terraplane, a 39 or 37, something like that. And my dad had a garage and a wrecking yard, and it was a car that ran that he got in the wrecking yard. And my brother and I got it going when he was gone one weekend, and we managed to tip it over in the process and everything else. But we got in pretty serious trouble over it.
Well, there's the first passenger car of some of the more famous people here this weekend. Now we move to Larry Newberg. What was your first car that you ever drove?
Amazingly, I do remember what it was. It was a muddy, rusted-out old pickup truck, and I learned to drive on the Fremont Speedway in Ohio, and I was helping run in the dirt track, and I remember running on the track with Raleigh Beal and being kicked off. I was supposed to be out there at that time.
You know, I can't remember. I think it was a 58 Ford, but I'm not sure. And I do remember that I destroyed it, whatever it was, one night. Got over left of center and took out another car. But, all right, as I indicated about 10 minutes ago, the weather is deteriorating. Let's get more on that situation from Dick Berggren down in the pit area. Dick?
You indeed it is deteriorating, Bob. It's not going downhill terribly rapidly, but it's a good guess that it's going to rain here in the not-too-distant future. Now, several things are going to happen. One, as the weather changes, as it gets more cool, as it gets more damp, everybody's chassis changes. That's going to help some competitors. It's going to hurt some competitors. For sure, everybody's got their eye on this weather, and everybody who's behind Bodine is going to run like a rabbit to try to catch that guy, because if we get rain, it could be the end of the show. So it's real excitement coming up here from the sky.
There are 5 cars on the lead lap, Dick. Bodine, of course, the leader. Bill Elliott now in second. Darrell Waltrip third. Harry Gant fourth. And Cale Yarborough fifth. Those 5 cars on the lead lap. We have through 19 for you. 6th place is Phil Parsons. 7th is Tim Richmond. 8th is Benny Parsons. 9th is Neil Bonnet. 10th is Bobby Allison. 11th, Buddy Baker. 12th, Ricky Rudd. 13th position, Rusty Wallace. 14th is Kyle Petty. 15th is Dave Marcus. 16th is Lake Speed. 17th, Ken Schrader. 18th, 3 laps down, is Lenny Pond. And 19th is Greg Sachs, who is also 3 laps down.
And while all this has been going on, Bodine has built his lead. He has about a straightaway lead. I mean, the front straightaway. That means we're talking more than a half a mile here at Pocono. Bodine is out front comfortably. Elliott and Waltrip are reasonably close in the racetrack. They were only separated by about 15 car lengths the last time by, with Elliott still running second and Waltrip third. Harry Gant and Cale Yarborough are the only other drivers on the lead lap. They're nowhere near to be a threat.
All right, we'll get an interval here as far as time is concerned between first and second spot, and we'll see exactly how much interval there is between the two. We estimate somewhere around 10 seconds. Next lap, however, we'll put the clock on the interval and find out exactly how much it is, but it appears to be around 10 seconds, or about the length of the straightaway.
Now remember, this is a venture into what used to be a foreign country for NASCAR drivers. Up north of the Mason-Dixon line, the eastern drivers who race here basically at home really have not done that well here. As a matter of fact, the only one to finish in the top 5 was Ron Bouchard, by our best recollection, back in 1982. But Jeff Bodine may be breaking the mold here. Maybe Jeff Bodine will become the first eastern driver to pick up a Grand National stock car win in his own backyard.
All right, here comes Bodine now off in the third corner. The clock in the upper right portion of your screen. As he comes across the line, we'll start the clock right there. And we'll look for Bill Elliott, who is just now moving out of turn number 3. Here he comes. Okay, we're timing Bodine's lap. We will...
About a 10-second interval again, though, Bob. 9 or 10, yeah.
We'll establish how fast Bodine is running in comparison to Bill Elliott to see how their speeds compare.
By the way, just to update you on the weather situation, NASCAR is very much aware of it, and they are huddled in a booth next to us here where they are checking the radar, the weather radar, even as we speak, taking a very careful check what's going on as far as the atmospheric conditions go.
We were talking about wins here at Pocono. Bobby Allison has 3 wins here at this racetrack. Cale Yarborough and Darrell Waltrip have 2 each. And there are 4 drivers that have a win here, namely David Pearson, Benny Parsons, Neil Bonnet, Tim Richmond, and Harry Gant. 5 drivers with 1 win. Here comes Jeff Bodine off of the third corner once again, and we'll see how fast he's running out there with 130 laps. A minute .8, that translates to...
Well, a minute, I think, is 150 miles an hour.
148.026.
I would venture to guess that's about where he wants to be. Now we're putting Bill Elliott on the clock this time to see whether or not he is gaining ground. And if he is, I got to tell you, it's grudgingly. The weather moving in, the possibility of weather moving in, Bodine escaping at lap 100 frolic without any incident. Pit stops very smooth, and right now Bodine looks to be in a very good position.
Yeah, he really does, and although the weather looks rainy, I'm not so sure that it's going to be a rain that is very heavy or last for very long. It doesn't look like it's going to be an overall long-lasting rain, but it could bring out the yellow flag for a period here.
And it seems to have almost skirted around the track here, Bob.
Yeah, it appears to have gone north of us, so maybe that isn't going to be a threat here. Now here's Bill Elliott in turn number 3. Jeff Bodine comes down the straightaway and completes the lap. Elliott just now moving out of turn number 3. He has Greg Sachs right ahead of him. And the stopwatch is triggered at 1 minute 1.7. So that is 145.867. So he is about 2 miles an hour slower than Jeff Bodine.
Well, Jeff Bodine, the man from the east here, who, as we mentioned earlier, may be changing the trend. The tide may be changing. He has raced here only 6 times. As you know, or if you've been following NASCAR racing, he's just come onto the scene full-time for the last couple of years. Last year, he finished a miserable 36th, and then nursed home a car to 12th position in the late summer race, so he's already doing much better today than he did in all of last year.
There are 4 other cars on the lead lap with Jeff Bodine as 131 laps have been completed. We'll be back with more in just a moment. That we've experienced in the Pocono Mountains and Pocono International Raceway since we have been here since Thursday afternoon. It's a beautiful place to visit. All the trees and the beautiful scenery around here.
Do you suppose that the very first time the farmer planted spinach out here in this field, he envisioned that sort of thing?
This was a former spinach field, but now is a 2.5-mile racetrack.
You know, something else interesting, Bob, I was looking through some record books. There have been some very interesting faces that have raced here, despite the fact that this is not very long on history, this racetrack, as Grand National racetracks go. But some of the names, listen to this: Farrell Harris, everybody remember him. Charlie Baker, who now races trucks for a living. Terry Bivens, how long has it been since you thought of that name? Jan Opperman once raced and finished in the top 10. Matter of fact, he finished 8th here. Al Hobart had a spectacular crash here a few years ago. Stan Barrett, the Rocket Man. Butch Hartman, who incidentally is continuing to drive race cars at local tracks back home in Ohio. Bruce Jacoby raced here once, and Janet Guthrie, of all people, raced here 3 times.
Jeff Bodine is the leader. Running in 2nd position is Bill Elliott. He is about 10 seconds behind. There you can see him lapping Ken Schrader. But Elliott running in 2nd spot, about 10 seconds behind. Let's go down to Jack Arute, who has some observations on Bill's most recent pit stop.
I think one of the points that we've got to consider, gentlemen, is the fact that in that last pit stop, Bill Elliott elected to change all 4 tires. On the case of the Levi Garrett crew, Jeff Bodine took on left sides for the first time during the race. Now, normally when you take on 4 new tires, that's an indication that you've got some problems in the handling department, and you're going to take the time penalty under green flag conditions to come in and try and resolve it. Elliott did that, and he has still been unable to close on Bodine. You can see all the tires behind Bodine's team, so you can see the tires is not an issue. Handling is, and they seem to have the advantage over the competition today.
Well, Jack, the interval is closing up as we take a look at the Elliott brothers who are watching Bill out there on the racetrack. The interval is closed out at 9.24 seconds, so almost a second has been shaved in the last couple of laps. Elliott perhaps on the move here.
Well, I think the thing you've got to look at there, too, Bob, is we're coming up on our next set of pit stops, and it's been some 70 laps since Jeff Bodine's taken right-side rubber on. And that's going to play a critical factor because those tires, I'm sure, are going away right now.
All right, Jack, we may be seeing the pit stops beginning again. One of the first ones to pit the last 3 times has been Ricky Rudd, and he is in the pits once again now. So we should be seeing the pit stops momentarily.
Something else to keep in mind is that if everything runs according to form and according to the chart so far in this race, 1 more pit stop will not do it. Everybody's got to come in 2 more times, and that second pit stop is likely to come within 15 laps of the finish. So that could be very dramatic. Remember this race last year at Pocono when everybody was running out of fuel on the last 10 laps of the race.
There is the leader with 63 more laps to go. We've completed 137. Jeff Bodine, the leader of this race. Now ESPN and NASCAR present another Track Fact.
Have you ever wondered how a top Grand National team can change tires in less than 14 seconds? Well, they've got their secrets, and one of them is to ensure that these lug nuts don't go flying all over the place when they put the wheel on. The way they do that is they take some weather stripping and adhesive, put it around the outside of the lug nut, attach it to the wheel itself, weight it down so they square up for just a couple of seconds, and then the wheels and the tire are ready to go on the race car.
This Track Fact has been brought to you by Loctite. Come on, race fans. Duro it right with Duro Extend Rust Treatment. It destroys rust. At Pocono International Raceway, the leader continues to be Jeff Bodine, Elliott second, Waltrip third. We'll be right back. Well, this is one of the honeymoon capitals of the world. world. I wonder if those two just got married. They are at the Pocono 500 as we are for our live coverage of the Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500. Now, taking a look at what's happened so far this year in NASCAR racing. The Daytona 500 was won by Bill Elliott. The Miller High Life 400 at Richmond taken by Dale Earnhardt. And the Carolina 500 at Rockingham by Neil Bonnet. The Coca-Cola 500 was won by Bill Elliott at Atlanta. The Valleydale 500 we televised for you from Bristol. That was won by Dale Earnhardt. We also televised the Trans-South 500 from Darlington, and Bill Elliott won that. The Northwestern Bank 500 from North Wilkesboro was won by Neil Bonnet. The Sovereign Bank 500 from Martinsville won by Harry Gant. The Winston 500 was won by Bill Elliott. So was the Budweiser 500. The Coca-Cola World 600 taken by Darrell Waltrip. And the most recent Grand National race was on the road course at Riverside, California. The Budweiser 400, and Terry Labonte won it. He's out of today's race already. And there is Tim Richmond pulling back out onto the speedway after having completed the pit stop. Harry Gant has also been in for a pit stop, but the leaders, namely Bodine, Elliott, and Waltrip, have not been in for their fourth stop of the day.
You know, Bob, we mentioned earlier, as we look again at the leader, Jeff Bodine, trailing, I think it's Phil Parsons, on the racetrack, that the #1 money winner for 1985 has been Darrell Waltrip. He bolted to the front after that great weekend at Charlotte. Second on the money winnings list for this year is Elliott. But you know, the interesting thing about Waltrip, he is now just $135,000. There he is on the racetrack. Behind, I don't know, it's hard to say on this big racetrack. He is only $135,000 behind Richard Petty in career winnings to become the #1 auto winner of all time in the sport of auto racing in America. Just $135,000 behind Richard, and if the rest of this year runs the way the first third of this season has, there will be the #1 dollar winner in auto racing in America in a career by the end of the 1985 season.
Waltrip runs third here this afternoon, and it was a little deceiving. He's not slowed down. He is still up to speed. As we check to see him coming off of corner number 3, he is almost a straightaway behind Bill Elliott, running in second position.
Well, this is such an expanse place, Bob. It's just gigantic. It's very wide. You can do a lot of racing on it. The other thing that they have done here, the wall is painted with intermittent stripes of red and white, as you can see, and they're larger than they are on a lot of racetracks. And you know, one of the reasons why promoters do that is it gives you the sense of speed as the car races by. But you can see the stripes here at Pocono are about 4 car lengths long, so it takes the car, a split second to go by it, and it gives you the idea that, well, maybe they're going slower than they are in some of the other high bank tracks around the country.
The second of our top 5 has come in for his fourth pit stop of the afternoon. Cale Yarborough is in. There he is, as the rubber is being changed on the left side of that car during this particular stop. By the way, at this point, with 144 laps to go, or rather 144 laps completed, Jeff Bodine has led 120 of them. Cale Yarborough spins the tires and pulls back out onto the racetrack. And his fourth pit stop is over, and one more, and that should do it.
Well, here let's talk about simplifying the pit stop situation just a little more. Most of these pit stops, the fourth ones will come before lap 150. Bob just mentioned you were 6 laps away from that mark. Nobody has shown anywhere near the ability to go 50 laps. This is a 200-lap race. So there's further indication that everybody's going to have to stop 2 more times, and that last one could come right at the 11th hour in this race.
We'll watch Jeff Bodine to see if he will be making a stop this time around. He apparently will not, as he swings the car wide off of turn number 3. Phil Parsons is running right behind him, and Phil is in 11th position now, and he now goes 2 laps down to the leader, Jeff Bodine.
Well, I would guess that you can expect Jeff to come in about 2 laps, because his pattern's been 36 to 38 laps. The last time he stopped was lap 108, so that should put it at lap 146. There's Tim Richmond right ahead of Buddy Baker and Bobby Allison, a youngster. Well, he just turned, what was it? I know what it was, but he doesn't want us to admit what it was this week. He just had a birthday against 2 of the real veterans, and right now, Tim Richmond, the guy who has broken into Grand National stock car racing, is getting the better of this battle for 6th position.
This is the battle for 6th. Tim Richmond and Buddy Baker, car number 88. And right behind Baker, sneaking into the picture, is Bobby Allison. So this becomes a 3-car battle here with less than 55 laps to go.
top of the $1 million mark, and here comes Bodine.
Let's go to Jackaroo for the call to the pit stop.
Once again, Jeff Bodine brings his mount onto pit road. The crew goes to work. Right side tires, as we suspected, on this stop. Also, an exchange of goggles. Now, what Jeff Bodine has done is gotten rid of his smoked goggles, which are darker, and gone to clear because the sun is going down. And he's gone 95 miles on 1 tank of gas, and he's away in 14.2 seconds.
Good stop for Jeff, and yes, Jack, it has gotten considerably darker here in just the last half hour, although it isn't raining, and NASCAR tells us that there is no rain within 30 miles of the racetrack. The cloud cover has rolled in, and it's considerably darker than it was a half hour ago. So the leader has come in for a pit stop. That gives the lead back to Bill Elliott. We'll continue to check the progress of these pit stops right after we return from these messages.
Bill Elliott is in the pits right now. He's taking 2 right side tires, 2 cans of fuel. He also took a chassis adjustment and a pair of goggles. He threw his old goggles out the door. Brother Ernie handed him a new set, and that ought to be it for a while for Bill Elliott. Waltrip still has not yet come in, but they're getting ready in his pit area.
And so Darrell is leader. That was a 14.4-second stop, by the way, for Bill Elliott, and he had gone 97.5 miles on the tank of fuel. There is the leader, Darrell Waltrip. Now in corner number 2, the tunnel turn. We anticipate a stop by him very, very shortly.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the mathematics on him, Bob, would have put him into the pits on lap 147, room 48, long before his teammate, Neil Bonnet, who pits right now. Bonnet just hasn't been with the top 5 program today. He's been out there all afternoon racing hard. Right now he's running in 8th position. Just a tick of the watch really behind the leaders all day long. But in a race like this, we run green all day long. You're just a tick behind, and all of a sudden you just can't find yourself staying on the lead lap.
Oh, remember, Neil told us earlier in the week that they brought their short track car here this weekend, and apparently it's just not working out the way that he had hoped it would. There is his teammate, Darrell Waltrip, who is the leader of this race. In turn number 1, Darrell will make at least 1 more lap before coming in.
Well, Bob, the reason for that short track car, going back to a comment that we got from Tommy Ellis about a year ago, he said Pocono may be 2.5 miles long, but this was like a short track with long straightaways. That may sound a little contradictory, but they're talking about how tight the corners are here and how relatively flat they are. And in the straightaways, they're pretty much straight, so they're almost like drag strips. And there's Dave Marcus.
Dave Marcus has lost a wheel, apparently, and the right front of that car has dropped to the speedway, and he is trailing Sparks. So this will bring out, we believe, our first caution period of the entire race. We'll watch Harold Kinder, the flagman, very closely to see what happens. But a trail of sparks is coming from Dave Marcus' car out of corner number 2. Here, meanwhile, comes Darrell Waltrip for the pit stop. Here's Jackaroo.
Darrell Waltrip brings his car in. They're going to go for the left side tire. Now, there's making a chassis adjustment as well. The reason for this is they've begun to encounter a problem in the right front of the machine. According to Junior Johnson, the tire is beginning to grow a little bit, and it's affected the handling. They've made the adjustment. He's off and away.
12.6 seconds, and there will not be a caution flag because Dave Marcus has made it back to the pit area on 3 wheels, and no yellow is displayed. Here comes Marcus. You can see that it's actually not a lost wheel, but it is rather a suspension problem that has caused that tire to buckle back. We'll see if they can fix this situation.
Well, they certainly do have their work cut out for him. He went a long ways in that condition, and I would imagine he probably caused just a little more damage to the underpart of that car. And we have a fire in the infield. I assume that's somebody just trying to keep warm, and I hope that's not that tent. There it is. Yeah, it's out of harm's way, as they say.
Well, some wild things go on in the pit and the infield area, as we could attest to from last year. We were here in the very late stages of the evening, around 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and it was, I believe, closer to the 4th of July, and fireworks and all kinds of
like about 2 hours. I don't think I've ever seen more fireworks in one location.
Yeah, really. So the work continues on Dave Marcus' car. We have had now all of the leaders pit for the 4th time this afternoon, and we settle back now for the final 48 laps of this race. We'll return in just a moment. So on the is cloudy afternoon in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, and the Diamond Mine 500, the leader is Jeff Bodine. He continues to set the pace here. Bill Elliott running second. Harry Gant is now in third place with Darrell Waltrip back to fourth. In fifth spot is Cale Yarborough, and those are the only 5 cars on the lead lap. The interval between first and second remains at between 9 and 10 seconds. But Bodine, with 45 laps to go, is looking very good.
Well, as we watch the leader of this race, Jeff Bodine, last night down at the Hickory Speedway in North Carolina, his brother Brett Bodine finished second in a late model sportsman race. Larry Pearson won for the second time in his career, both wins coming at that place. Larry, of course, the son of David Pearson. Some other winners of the weekend in the Eastern Modified scene. Chip Slocum won that race that Bobby Allison and Bobby Hillen competed in last night. Bobby Rahal, congratulations. Perhaps some of you saw him win an IROC race on the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course near Mansfield, Ohio yesterday. And Friday night, down at Williams Grove at the sprint car races, they had a big dollar sprint car race down there. And Doug Wolfgang, the man from Sioux Falls, way up in the north central part of this country, won the sprint race driving the Weichert Livestock car, number 29, and he was very, very dominant. By the way, number 77, Keith Kaufman, was there, but he finished third as Maynard Jenks finished second.
The number 7 of Kyle Petty, well, it's not been an exceptionally good weekend for him. He qualified 23rd and has not been running in the top 10 today. However, I had a chance to sit down and talk with this very interesting young man.
I was just a young boy when I started to drive, too excited to see the worry in Mama's eyes.
Kyle, I guess you could say you've been exposed to racing all your life. What was it like growing up as the son of one of the greatest race drivers ever?
I don't really know. It wasn't that much different than, you know, he was the only father I knew, and, you know, we just went to the racetrack on weekends when everybody else went to the football games or went to baseball games. We went to the races, and, you know, like you say, growing up with one of the greatest drivers, most of the weekends we went to Victory Lane. So, you know, it wasn't unusual for us to go to the racetrack and play football all day long in the middle of the infield and then end up going to Victory Lane after everything was over with.
Did you really want to become a race driver when you were growing up? Was that something that was on your mind as to something you wanted to do later?
Not really. You know, when I was in high school and in elementary school and in high school, sports were more on my mind. I played football and basketball, loved basketball, and, you know, some baseball and golf, that type deal. But, you know, racing wasn't really the #1 priority until I got old enough, 12, 13 years old, where I could drive a car around in the driveway. Then I wanted to go racing because, you know, I'd get to go out and drive we had a Road Runner at that time, and get to drive it around in the circle, and the faster I'd go, the more I'd get hollered at. So, you know, I enjoyed it and began to concentrate more on racing along in the end.
One of Kyle's best finishes early was a 4th in the Winston 500 at Talladega back in 1982. He was driving for Petty Enterprises in the number 42.
That was a good race for us. We had run real strong all week long, and we're fortunate enough to be in a battle with Terry and Benny Parsons at that time driving for Harry Ranier and Darrell at the end of the race. And, you know, I think an experience beat us more than anything else. Benny made one move, and Terry and Darrell made a move, and I made a move, and I ended up staying in the same place, 4th, and they ended up improving a little bit. But, you know, it helped to register a little bit in my mind, and then later on I think it come back to help me.
Kyle had a short association in 1982 with Hoss Ellington driving the number 1 STP Uno machine.
Yeah, that was a funny time. That was basically, I guess, the next year. And, you know, we done a deal with STP and Uno both, and I drove one car part-time and the number 1 car another part of the time. And, you know, that was the first time I'd ventured outside of Petty Enterprise to drive for anybody else. And really, I didn't know what to expect, and I don't think Halston and their crew knew what to expect from me. And, you know, things worked fairly well. They could have worked better, and probably a lot of it was my fault that it didn't work any better than it did. But, you know, we ran good in a lot of races, and, you know, really that was one of my best years.
Then in 1985, a big break. The Wood Brothers Ford and a major sponsorship.
Getting the 7-Eleven sponsorship was a break for me personally, to get out from under the Richard Petty and STP shadow, that type deal. You know, not to say that that was bad, but it gave me a chance to go out and do my own type of racing. And we ran pretty good the first year, and then the second year, last year, we switched over to the Fords, and, you know, we were playing catch-up all year long, basically. It was a struggle for us to get to the racetrack and to run competitive. Even though we did run competitive some, it wasn't the type of year I wanted to have. And, you know, at the end of last year, we made a switch and went to the Wood Brothers car for this year. 7-Eleven came along with me, which, you know, without them, I wouldn't be in this position. You know, they've showed a lot of confidence in me to stay behind me this long, but, you know, we're having a whole lot better season this year than I've ever had in my career, and looking forward to better things.
This year at Talladega, a race to the checkered flag with Cale Yarborough for second place.
Experience beat me in 82, but it helped me in 85. In 82, I made a move to the inside of Benny and tried to pass him through 3 and 4, and he got me back by the start-finish line. This year with Cale, I passed him on the outside and was able to hold him off and finish second. So, you know, I think it was the type of deal where racing's a funny game. You can come out here with all the money in the world and all the ability, but if you don't have the experience behind you, then you're not going to run that good, especially in Grand National racing. And, you know, over a period of 3 or 4 years or 4 or 5 years, I feel like we've got enough experience to run up front and win some races.
We had the pleasure of riding with you at North Wilkesboro earlier this year, and there were some interesting points in that race, especially with the Dale Earnhardt a couple of times.
A few interesting deals. I don't know if it was a pleasure for y'all to be in there with me as far as that goes. I got a little violent there a couple of times, but, you know, we felt like that, you know, what happened there should have been avoidable. You know, it was just one of those deals that, you know, you look back on it now and it was funny. It was racing. That's the way it goes. But at that time, you know, we're running to get on the winner's circle and to win a race. And we were running strong enough that day that we felt like to win a race. And, you know, one tap like that, we felt like knocked us out of $250,000, $300,000 by getting on the winner's circle this year and continuing on to it next year. So, you know, it was a big loss. It's like missing a putt for $200,000. It's that type of deal. You want to bury your putter in the green somewhere. You know, I've been in scuffles before with a few people, but, you know, I was never a threat to them. I think now it's getting to the point where we're considered a threat. When we come to the racetrack, you know, we can run in the top 3 or 4 every time we come to the racetrack and hopefully win a race. But, you know, people's going to have to start taking a little bit more notice of us. And, you know, by some of the things that have happened at North Wilkesboro and some of the other tracks, I think some of the top teams are beginning to take more notice of us. And, you know, hopefully with a win here before too much longer, then a lot of other people will too.
Well, what about the future, Kyle? Is your future in music? Is it in NASCAR, or is it in perhaps Indy cars?
I think as a driver. You know, I don't know whether a NASCAR driver, IndyCar driver. I think before I retire from racing, I'd like to try a little bit of everything. You know, sprint cars, the whole deal. I think you get into a deal where, you know, if you race a division for 20 or 25 years and you retire and you look back on it and you say, well, you know, I had an opportunity to try this and didn't try it, or I had an opportunity to do that. When I look back after I retire from my career, I want to say, well, maybe I didn't like Indy cars or maybe I didn't like sprint cars, but at least I tried them one time or two. So, you know, music is fun, and I enjoyed doing that, and we had a lot of fun doing this album that we did. But, you know, my main concern right now is racing, and right this time it's Grand National racing. But who's to say in a year or two I might try a little bit of everything.
Going fast as I can was part of the job. It made Mama worry a lot. The people who love me worry a lot, but they understand the dream that I've got. So I'll keep on running till I reach the top, while the people who love me worry a lot.
No, that wasn't James Taylor singing that song. It was Kyle Petty. And if he ever should give up the game of auto racing, I think he has a very bright future in music. A good singer. And it was nice to do that personal look at Kyle Petty. We'll be back with more live coverage from the Van Scoy Diamond Mines 500. Welcome back to Pocono International Raceway, where 165 laps out of 200 have been completed in the Van Scoy Diamond Mine 500. There's the leader, Jeff Bodine. The lead over Bill Elliott is about 9 seconds. Elliott has about a 9-second lead over Harry Gant, and Gant has about a 4-second lead over Darrell Waltrip. Those 4 cars running on the racetrack along with Cale Yarborough, and those 5 cars are on the lead lap. A lap down in 6th spot is Neil Bonnet. 7th position is Benny Parsons. 8th is Tim Richmond. 9th is Buddy Baker. In 10th place is Bobby Allison. 11th is Phil Parsons. 12th place is Rusty Wallace. 13th is Lake Speed. 14th is Kyle Petty. And 15th is Bobby Hillen. Now, Dave Marcus, you remember, came in with sparks coming from the underside of that car. We apparently have been told that it's a ball joint problem. Let's get more on that from the pit area.
Well, there was a problem with Dave Marcus's car. They put the wheel back on. Indeed, there was a ball joint problem. He's gone away. But Tim Richmond has received a birthday present that he wishes that he didn't get. And that's a faulty shock eyelet. This area right here. Now, what the crew's done is they've decided that as long as the race stays under green, they've told Richmond, stay out, tough it out. Should this race go to yellow, they're all ready to change the shock and get him back to competitive speed. So they're hoping for a caution, but it looks like it may go green all the way, and Richmond will have one whale of a ride.
Well, it's gone green all the way so far, and it could indeed go all the way to the end. Now, right ahead of Tim Richmond is Jeff Bodine, the leader, and right now Richmond is shown in 8th spot.
Well, there's never been a race here at Pocono that has gone completely without caution. There was just that one back in 1978. They set a record, matter of fact, that year, which was later tied for the fewest number of caution laps, that being 12. But so far, not a single one, an absolutely squeaky clean race, with the exception of Dave Marcus' situation.
There's the average speed after 160 laps, 145.055 miles an hour. The record here at Pocono for a 500-mile race for Grand National stock cars is 138.164. That was set on June 10th of 1984 by Cale Yarborough just last year at this time. The time of the race, 3 hours, 37 minutes, and 8 seconds. So Bodine on his way to setting a record here this afternoon.
And just to update everybody on the pit stop and the fuel consumption situation, as we mentioned earlier, basically all the bets are off. Everybody's going to stop one more time.
And a battle for 16th position going on here. Lake Speed, 75, is in 16th, but right behind him is Bobby Hillen, who's had a good run this afternoon.
Yeah, he really has. He's picked up some local sponsors. This is known as the Spirit of Wyoming Valley this week. That's WEZX Radio 107. And also Gene Lipsey, a local Chevrolet dealer, is involved in the car. They've been making some strides this year with Ron Purrier started out as the engine builder, now the crew chief on young Bobby Hillen's car. Remember, this guy is only 21 years of age, and there aren't a whole lot of race drivers in the country who had this kind of start by 21 years of age in their own personal life. Here's a man who, if he so chooses, could probably just stay around for a long time and be a pretty big name, really, in this sport of racing.
Bobby is currently 12th in the Winston Cup point standings for 1985. And earlier this weekend, Larry had a chance to talk with Bobby Hillen.
Youngest guy? Yeah, at least one of the youngest on the trail. Are you on schedule?
Well, I feel like we're on schedule. You know, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and it seems like with my career right now, I found that when I've had everything going for me and everything right, I can run with the leaders. And where my downfalls come is when everything's not quite right. I'll fall off maybe more than the guys that's got all the experience than I do. And I feel like that's why everything's up and down, and we're working real hard to try to get things where, you know, it's more right all the time. And when it's not right, I can, you know, not fall back as much and try to carry it a little more like the veteran drivers that have been racing so long can do.
Well, his birthday was actually 4 days ago, but the celebration continues this weekend. Bobby Hillen, now 21 years of age, the driver of car number 8. By the way, we might mention that Cale Yarborough has dropped slightly off the pace. We presume possibly a dropped cylinder in that car, but he has slowed down from what he was running on the last few laps.
And while we continue to look at Bobby Hillen, let's again say hi to Bobby Hillen Sr. Those of you who follow IndyCar racing probably remember him. He built those Longhorn Indy cars that Al Unser drove for a number of years, and it was a real nice entry at the IndyCar races. And Bobby Hillen Sr., you listened to most of these races, and I'm here to tell you, buddy, we miss you.
Greg Sachs, car number 49, is still out there on the racetrack. He started this race in 24th position today, and it's been very competitive. Now, this is the James Hilton car, and the one that Don Hume drove earlier
number 31 of Steve Gray. That's one of the Henley Gray race cars. There's Greg Sachs again. Greg, by the way, has won $65,000 this year. He started out the season almost like a house afire. He finished 6th at Daytona in his own race car. Then he had an opportunity to move over to this ride when Don Hume was asked to step aside, and now he runs with James Hilton.
We have 29 laps to go. 171 have been completed. Jeff Bodine is the leader of this race. He has led the majority of laps. Elliott continues to run second. We'll see how all this shakes out after these messages. An engine has just let go here on the front stretch. That is Steve Gray from Rome, Georgia, in the Gray Racing Chevrolet car number 31, and that brings out our first yellow flag of the afternoon.
Well, watch for everybody to come in because they all got to stop one more time. We were just sitting here trying to speculate if could anybody stretch it and go almost 120 miles. Well, nobody's going to have to now. But the interesting thing to watch will be how does this affect Bodine's race. Beyond the shadow of any doubt, if nothing went wrong with that race car, if this race had gone the rest of the way under green, nobody would have caught Jeff Bodine. But now everybody has a leisurely chance to make all those changes they've been thinking about, rumbling around in the back of their mind. And some of the most expert decision makers obviously work on these race cars. So let's see how it unfolds after this caution flag. Steve Gray, the man from Georgia, by the way, first time ever in a power steering race car or front steer race car, has his day end about 25 laps from the end.
Well, here comes the Jeff Bodine pit stop. Now, not only will this allow them to make the changes, it'll bunch the field up. Let's go to Jackaroo.
Well, Bodine has come on to pit road. He takes a look over the wall to his wife, Kathy. It's a normal stop, under caution, a little more leisurely for the right side cover. He's off and away in fine fashion. But again, no chassis adjustments. They've just gone on to pit road while Harry Gant pulls onto pit road, and I believe Dick Bergeron's down there.
Pit road now. He's also taking right side tires. And down pit road from him is Darrell Waltrip. All the top four cars have done exactly the same thing. Two right side tires, a lot of fuel, and they're gone. This should be the last regularly scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, we only got 24 more laps to go, so that everybody now can go the distance. We're going to run a couple of laps here under yellow. Elliott, Waltrip, and Bodine all came in. So did Harry Gant. There are 4 cars on the lead lap. Cale Yarborough has gone a lap down because of some obvious mechanical problems. So now the field bunches up, and we will go back to racing very shortly. And when we do, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Jeff Bodine's lead. So we'll be back for that after we take a break for these messages. Stay with us. Cale Yarborough is back on pit road. They have lifted the hood on that car to examine what the problem is. Cale had dropped off the pace about 10 laps ago. They're closing the hood now, and we wonder if perhaps Cale isn't going to be climbing out of that car.
Yeah, Bob, they don't run for points, so when they don't have an opportunity to win or to finish in the first 3, normally they kind of give up on it because they're not in it for the same reasons that most of the other crews are. Cale really established his reputation, his ability to run fast, and I think that's exactly what's happening, Bob. They're going to give up the ghost for the day.
Well, he had run in 5th position just about all afternoon long, most recently went a lap down, and now the race is over for Cale Yarborough. Now ESPN presents another Track Fact.
Anybody that chews gum knows that in 30 minutes or so, the gum you've got goes stale. If you're a Grand National driver and you chew gum, 30 minutes is not as long as you're going to be in the race car. So to solve the problem, Cale Yarborough has come up with a 200-mile-an-hour gum dispenser. When he's tired of the piece of gum he's chewing, all he does is toss it out the window, grab himself a new piece, and he's in business for another 30 or 40 minutes.
Well, Cale can now go back to his motor home and get a sandwich and a cold drink because the afternoon is over for the Sardis, South Carolina driver. We'll be back at Pocono in just a moment. The yellow remains out. 179 laps will be completed when they cross the finish line. We got 1 more lap to go before we go to green. This prediction time, I predict that Bill Elliott is going to win this race. With now 22 laps to go, I think Bill is in a good position to take over the lead. Larry?
Well, Bob, I think that Jeff Bodine met his challenge halfway through this race, and he looks too comfortable from here to be beat.
How about Jack Arute? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to pick Jeff Bodine. Now, maybe it's a little self-serving. I think all of you know that Jeff was a track champion at a racetrack that we operate in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and he's a hard charger, and it's kind of special because Pocono is as far north as he goes. My heart lies with Jeff Bodine, Harry Hyde, and the rest of the Levi Garrett crew.
And finally, our fourth broadcast crew member, Dick Bergeron. Your prediction, sir?
Well, I'm with Jack. Jeff Bodine's really racing on his home track. He surely has dominated this event today. He's not got to win this year. I'll go with Bodine.
So either Bob is going to be completely right or completely wrong, because I'm the only one that picked Bill Elliott. We'll find out who wins this race when we come back after these messages at Pocono.
Hey, Harry Gant, what's it like driving the Skull Bandit?
It ain't easy, even in practice.
What's it like using Skull Bandits? That's real easy. Skull Bandits is tobacco in a neat little pouch. You don't chew it. Just put one between your cheek and gum and enjoy the refreshing taste. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
It's that easy.
Try Skull Bandits, the little pouch of pleasure, in wintergreen or new mint.
For over 60 years, people have trusted Rust-Oleum to protect metal from rust. Now, after helping protect things in yards across America, Rust-Oleum is hitting the road. Rust-Oleum introduces the first complete line of products formulated to prevent rust on cars. New body fillers, touch-up paint, even waxes. They all protect against rust so your car will look better longer. Nobody fights rust like Rust-Oleum.
Well, you rejoined us just as we're about to go green. The cars are in their normal two-abreast formation. Coming off of turn number 3, the pace begins to quicken. Bodine steps on the accelerator, and we go back to green. We have just come off our first caution period of the afternoon. That caused by a blown engine in the Steve Gray car. Now, we have exactly 20 laps to go. 180 are complete. Bodine, Elliott, and Harry Gant are right together on the racetrack, and so is Darrell Waltrip, for that matter. The first 4 right together.
Yeah, Bob, those are the two guys we didn't talk about that much, was Harry Gant and Darrell Waltrip. Somebody is real high there in number 1, but seems to get through okay. But down the Long Pond backstretch, the first 4 cars at this point of the race are running together.
Bodine leads them down through the Long Pond straightaway into corner number 2.
Oh, look at this bunching up.
And they're beginning to pull the choo-choo train effect here as the yellow is going to come out again. For what reason, we do not know. But a yellow is coming out again. Harold Kinder displaying the caution flag.
Well, somebody went way high there, Bob, in turn number 1, and we may have lost yet another engine.
For the yellow, Bodine does not pit, but Gant, Elliott, and Waltrip do pit. And there is Bill Elliott's situation.
Strategy. Boy, you sit there and you scratch your head on this one. They got a taste of what how their car was going to perform after that green-yellow flag. And now they come in and make yet another adjustment.
Well, now this is unfair because Bodine is going to have a considerable lead here. When we go back to racing, he's going to have several cars between himself and the guy that you picked to win.
The answer on the 2 caution flags, of course, you can only change 2 tires each time, and everybody came in, so now they have 4 fresh tires. Overlook that.
So Bodine looking a little bit better here now with 19 laps to go, and the field remaining under caution. Back at Pocono after this. The field just now moving across the tunnel turn, ready to go green next time around. Harry Gant has moved into second spot because of that series of pit stops that occurred just a couple of laps ago. Gant got out first, is now second, and Elliott moves back to third spot. Darrell Waltrip is fourth. Those 4 cars on the lead lap. In 5th position right now, a lap down, is Neil Bonnet, and in 6th spot is Benny Parsons, who's also a lap down. 7th, 2 laps down, is Tim Richmond, then Ricky Rudd, Buddy Baker, Bobby Allison, and Rusty Wallace. Those are the top 11.
Remember the situation, tired. Will they play a factor? Will they play a role in the end of this race? Harry Gant, we haven't seen much of him in the last 200, 300, maybe 300 laps, but now he's right up there second, first out of the pit.
Moving down the straightaway, Bodine has about a 1-car length advantage on Harry Gant as they now will move into a single file formation to go through corner number 1. Gant is right on the back bumper of Jeff Bodine as they move through the corner now. We'll wait and see how they shake out coming off of corner number 2 now. Bill Elliott sneaks right up on the back bumper of Harry Gant. And Elliott moving to the inside of Harry Gant as they go down the long pond straightaway, but can't find the opportunity to pass. Still Bodine, Gant, and Bill Elliott.
Waltrip, meanwhile, never really got off the blocks. I tell you, Waltrip is just now broken from the pack. He runs about 25 car lengths.
Oh, we have a spin out in corner number 2. Cars spinning. We have at least 2 cars involved. Bobby Hillen is one of them, and Kyle Petty is another. And a car moving to the inside is Lenny Pond off of the racetrack down into the grass.
And a lead change, I think.
Here they come off of the 3rd turn, and Harry Gant is going to be the leader as they race to the yellow. Gant, Bodine, and Elliott in that order. Well, if it takes a long time to clean this up, then we are going to have just a few laps dash to the finish.
Well, it took a while for the tunnel turn to jump up and grab somebody, but it finally did. Just 15 laps from the finish. And I didn't see if Lenny got back underway in her zone power, but he may be going again, Bob.
Well, we have a replay of what happened back there in the tunnel turn, and here it is.
Well, watch for Kyle in the red, white, and blue, primarily white car. Bobby Hill in the yellow car. There's Kyle getting sideways. Yeah, a little bit out of shape there right in front of Bobby Hill, and there's Lenny Pond on the inside. Kyle looks to be the first one who lost at lake speed, digging for safety on the outside. I think that's Greg Sachs right above Bobby Hillen Jr. Yeah, that's Greg. Bobby goes in the slide. Kyle goes around 1/360. Lenny Pond goes down to the inside. He tries to find room. It's safe down there, but slippery. Bobby Hillen goes around, completes his 360. Looks like he's out of danger. Then Lenny comes around. So lots of spinning, but I don't think there's any contact out there.
Well, it looked like a Danny Sullivan spin there with Bobby Hill. He made one complete circle and kept on going. But the important thing is we have a change of the leader. Harry Gant was able to pass Jeff Bodine in corner number 3 as the yellow was coming out. Now Bodine moves in for a pit stop. We'll be right back in a moment. Bobby Hillen moves into the pits, and he has some obvious body rubbing against the left rear tire on that car. Did a nice job of gaining control of the car when he spun out there in corner number 2, but slid by his area. Now the crew comes to push him back.
Yeah, I think he's probably got a slight brake problem, too. Not as bad as Bill Elliott had in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, but he was able to bring him to a stop. Bob, you know, you and I were talking during the break. I think this was a real opportunity for Jeff Bodine. I think this was an advantage, this yellow flag for Jeff.
Well, I don't know, because it puts him back and forth, because Waltrip also came in for a pit stop, and Darrell beat Jeff out of the pit, so that means that Jeff is now in 4th spot. How about Jack Arute? What's your opinion of this situation?
Well, Bobby Hillen has got some problems down here, Bob Jakin. They're trying to pry out the left rear quarter panel. They're not actually in their pit either. They're stranded out in the middle of pit road. A NASCAR technical inspector is trying to enforce the rules and force them back to their pits to make the repairs. But it's like a bunch of ants going at a picnic sandwich right now in the rear of Bobby Hillen's car.
You're right about that. We've got one guy in the trunk and others working there on the left side of the car. Now they lower the trunk. And as you can see, the NASCAR people are telling them to get back to their assigned pit area. Hillen, though, stands on the gas and pulls away, and we don't see any smoke coming from the tire, so apparently has the bodywork pulled away. So, 187 laps completed, 13 more to go, and we should be going green next time around. Who's going to win this race? Don't go away now. It could be one of 4 people. Has just gotten the green flag and is now moving through turn number 1. Harry Gant has the lead. We have less than 12 laps to go. Gant showing the way with Elliott second and Jeff Bodine in 3rd place. Now Gant beginning to pull away from Bill Elliott somewhat.
Bob, Bob, this is an example, no matter how fast you are all day long, you've got to be fast at the very end of one of these Grand National races. More often than not, this kind of thing happens.
That's Darrell Waltrip in third place and Bodine in fourth now as they go by a slower car. That's Ricky Rudd. Now, this is the first time that Harry Gant has led all afternoon, but he's leading the late laps, and that's what counts. Jeff Bodine has led 154 laps. Bill Elliott has led 20 laps, and Darrell Waltrip has led 9 laps.
Bodine has moved out on Waltrip. He's picked up a position. Bodine moves into third.
Now he sets sail for Bill Elliott, running in second spot. Now Elliott moving to the inside of Harry Gant out of corner number 2 on the backstretch, and Bill Elliott has moved back into the lead.
Harry way out of shape that time, coming around turn number 2, just holding on for all he was worth to get that car back in.
Now we'll watch Jeff Bodine to see if he can pass Harry Gant. Bodine has moved in on Harry Gant, now about a 1.5 car length separation, but Darrell Waltrip certainly is not out of this also. Waltrip moving to the inside of Bodine as they move to the tunnel turn, and Waltrip moves back into third spot.
Well, that is that straightaway between the tunnel turn and turn number 3. We told you earlier in the day, all sorts of things in the late part of the race can happen down there because you have to be positioned just perfectly coming out of the tunnel turn. It buffets the car around, it shuffles you around while you are inside the cockpit. And all sorts of things can occur to you in the car coming out of the tunnel turn, and that's what happened that time to Jeff Bodine.
10 laps to go. Elliott showed as the leader of lap number 190. And once again, Harry Gant goes high as the cars come out of corner number 1, but doesn't lose very much as far as distance is concerned. Waltrip now putting the heat on Harry Gant, moving into corner number 2.
And Bodine is significantly back. He's behind Waltrip by about 10 car lengths as you see the first 3 cars, and Elliott, her prediction, Bob, is now about 8 car lengths in the lead.
Well, it's been an unusual set of circumstances here, and will certainly be a shame if Jeff Bodine cannot win this race. He has looked so strong all the way through, has led far and away the majority of the laps, but here in the late going, things have not gone well for him at all. There he is moving into your screen, but he's quite a distance behind Waltrip, and now Elliott, as they cross the stripe, begins to put some advantage over Harry Gant.
You can see the cars serpentining down the front stretch. They're all trying to stay in the draft. The guy in front's trying to shake it to get loose, run up front, try and catch him. But only the first 4 cars really have an opportunity to win this race, and right now, Bill Elliott is beginning to look like he is taking charge.
Well, this will be the first win for Bill Elliott on this racetrack if he can pull it off, and it will be the last super speedway for him to register a victory at. Harry Gant running second, and this will be Bill Elliott's 6th victory of the year. He has wins at Daytona, at Atlanta, at Darlington, at Talladega, and at Dover. And in the lead here at Pocono.
Keep your eyes on Waltrip. He is very, very good in the late stages of the race. When cars are evenly matched, somehow Darrell Waltrip seems to find just a little extra, particularly in the last 2 laps of the race. Waltrip is certainly within striking distance. Is Harry Gant holding back, waiting to make a move at just the right lap? It's kind of tricky here at Pocono. The best place to draft is down the front stretch. If you wait for the front stretch, that's too late. That's past the finish line.
Less than 8 laps to go now. There's Waltrip in third spot. Bobby Hillen moves down to the inside, coming out of turn number 1, and allows the leaders to pass. Hillen got his problem straightened out here and is back out there in competition. He was one of the 3 drivers involved in an incident over in corner number 2.
Boy, Jeff Bodine just does not have the right setup. He continues to fall back car length by car length to the 3 leaders.
And while there is a battle going on up front, there's also a battle going on for 6th, 7th, and 8th position. This involves Buddy Baker, Bobby Allison, and Benny Parsons.
Benny Parsons is in there. I guess they're all on the same lap, and Parsons and Baker have done a good job hanging in there all day. We felt that Bobby Allison had a superiority in terms of gas mileage when the race started. It's shown today. Benny Parsons is also shown well in that category. As far as racing goes, they've just been a little bit out of step with the first 4 cars.
We're now told that Benny Parsons is 1 lap down in 5th spot, but Bobby Allison and Buddy Baker are 2 laps down, so it is Benny Parsons who leads this particular race and has a lap on both Allison and Baker. Less than 7 laps to go now. As up front, the lead continues to be held by Bill Elliott. We watch Baker, Allison, and Lake Speed out in turn number 2.
You see Bobby Allison jumping back in line as he saw the tunnel turn coming up. Bobby Helen was down on the low part of the racetrack, motoring a little slowly, and Allison jumped back into space. On the racetrack, Jeff Bodine is maybe now 12 car lengths behind. Ricky Rudd, I believe it's Ricky, is right behind Jeff, trying to draft to move him up. Yeah, it is Ricky, but it's just not working. There are the two leaders. That is Elliott and Harry Gant, and now they've opened up just a bit of a distance between themselves and Darrell Waltrip.
I'll tell you, Harry Gant is looking good here. He won the second Pocono race last year, so he is a former winner on this track. Bill Elliott has never won. Bobby Helen pulls back into the pits while we continue to watch the action on the racetrack.
And remember that Harry Gant has finished second 3 times in a row, 4 times in all in the 1985 season, but at Riverside, at Charlotte, and Dover, 3 tracks, you don't find 3 tracks much more different than that. And throw in this one, that's 4 tracks in a row that are incredibly different, and he's been second every time.
You know, there was a time where Harry was known as the bridesmaid because he finished second so many times before he finally won a Grand National race. And now he's settled back into this finishing second idea, as you indicated, for the last 3 races. They come off of turn number 3 again. Bill Elliott leads, and this is lap number 195 completed. 5 more to go.
Waltrip seems to be losing touch with the 2 of them, and Bodine again seems to be moving up just a little bit on Waltrip. And at this point, number 9 and number 33 look unreachable. Harry getting down on the inside of the racetrack and bottoming out just a little bit. You saw a wisp of smoke as the frame of the car touched the bottom of the racetrack.
In his career, Harry Gant has finished second 23 times. And right now, it looks like it could be 24. There's a good look at Harry Gant, driver of the number 33 Skoal Premar Chevy.
Number 9, Bill Elliott, the man who has won over $500,000 already in 1985. Number 33, Harry Gant, no slouch in the money-winning category. He's almost at $350,000. And these 2 are also very much in the running for the Winston Cup Championship. Wherever they place today, they certainly expect to move up. And right now, they're beating Jeff Bodine, who's also in there. And, of course, the points leader, Terry Labonte, has dropped out.
The Coors team, owned by Harry Melling, watches their driver, Bill Elliott, on the racetrack in the lead right now, but with his hands full, unquestionably. Gant right on his back bumper into turn number 1 once again. We now have less than 4 laps to go. 196 have been completed. They're on lap 197, headed for turn 2.
Boy, at that pass, it looked like that Bill feels that Harry may be running just a little quicker, because you saw Bill nuzzle it right on down to the bottom of the racetrack. He did not give Harry Gant an inch on the inside of turn number 1. Same thing to the tunnel corner. So right now, Elliott may be driving defensively as much as he is offensively.
Well, one thing you certainly can't say about this race is that Bill Elliott has dominated, because he has not. The lead has been held mostly by Jeff Bodine, only here in the late stages, and 20 laps previously has Bill Elliott really shown his muscle. The cars moving down the straightaway, you can see them snaking and serpentining down here, trying to break the draft. Elliott trying to shake Gant, but now moves out into the high groove, setting up for turn number 1.
Also, keep in mind, didn't he get the lead out in the pits? Wasn't a reason that Bill Elliott came out leading at least the other 2 cars of Harry Gant and Darrell Waltrip was that he got out of the pits first, I believe, in that very last caution flag, when everybody changed the other set of tires. They could not change on the first caution flag.
Now look at Elliott open up the distance between himself and Gant. It looks like he's just tired of playing with these guys and is standing on the gas. Ernie Elliott continues to watch brother Bill on the racetrack, wishing that the next 2.5 laps would go quickly.
You know, noticing how much he's taking off, and by the way, I just been handed a note I forgot about. Bill actually got underneath Harry Gant when Harry went high in turn number 1. That's right. It was not in the pit area. It was Bill passing Harry on the racetrack. But it does look like Bill has just taken off.
Look at the movement down the straightaway as Barry goes way from the inside to clear to the outside of the track. Interesting line taken by our leader. Next time around will be the white flag lap. 198 complete.
I just keep thinking back to a race here a year ago, and a race at Rockingham, I guess it was, when Richard Petty beat Bill Elliott, and asking Bill in an interview after the race, Bill, what do you got do to finish first place. And now Rusty Wallace depositing some oil, I bet you, on the inside of turn number 1. Could this be a caution flag, and could this be the race? You could see him slipping, Bob. I think there's some precipitation there on the inside of the racetrack.
If it is, this race is going to end under yellow, and Elliott will be the winner. Rusty Wallace gets out of the groove, moves the car to the inside. We'll watch Harold Kinder very closely to see if he displays both the white and the yellow. I don't believe he's going to. Here comes Bill Elliott out of turn number 3 onto the straightaway, and Harold Kinder displays only the white flag. One more to go, no yellow. It's going to be a dash to the finish, but I don't think anybody's going to catch Bill Elliott. We'll see.
Well, let's keep our eyes peeled on turn number 1. Remember what I said about Wallace, and right now NASCAR officials are checking on it. It is slippery down there.
Well, Elliott gets out of shape. Yeah, he got way high, and so does Harry Gant, for that matter. Gant's still out of shape. Now Elliott's down to the extreme inside of the racetrack, and the yellow is out.
But they race back to the checker.
They're going to race to the yellow or the checkered flag, so whoever comes out on top here next time around is going to be the winner of the race.
Boy, it was almost handed to Darrell Waltrip. Right now, Elliott has built up an insurmountable lead. Unless he runs out of gas. I don't think he will, because he pitted about 15 laps ago. This is going to be his.
Not much chance of that happening. Gant pulls in, though, ever so slightly, but I think that Elliott is going to win this race. There they go by Rusty Wallace's very slow car that apparently blew an engine and deposited some oil down in turn number 1. Here they come off of corner number 3. Elliott down to the inside, looking for the checkered flag, and he gets it. Bill Elliott wins the race. Gant is second, Waltrip third, and Bodine fourth.
First spot, what a disappointment for Harry Hyde and Jeff Bodine. If anybody deserved a race, they did today, but Bill Elliott had it when it counted.
Well, it all involved strategy. It involved circumstances on the racetrack, namely the accident out in turn number 2 late in the race, and all of the other variables that go together to make up an auto race. Bill Elliott played it right and came out on top this afternoon.
Well, the other thing about Bill Elliott, he has now won on every super speedway on the NASCAR Grand National Trail, and I believe they've all taken place in the last 13 months.
And the incredible record of Bill Elliott in 1985 International Racing continues. We'll be right back at Pocono International Raceway. Back at Pocono, where Bill Elliott has pulled his Ford into victory lane, and by golly, I predicted a winner right.
Yes, you certainly did, Bob. You said it when you said you're either going to be all right or all wrong, and you were definitely right. I bet you Ernie Elliott appreciates that.
There you can see the Elliott crew receiving the congratulations of Pocono International race officials. Bill is still inside the race car, getting the helmet off, and he'll be emerging from it in just a moment. And when he does, we'll have an interview with him.
Well, here are the super speedways now. This man has won on in 1985. He won at Daytona. He has won at Atlanta. He won at Darlington, second of 4 legs of the potential $1 million bonus. He won at Talladega. He won at Dover, and now he has won here at Pocono.
And his first victory ever here at Pocono, Harry Gant winds up in second position. A good run for Harry this afternoon. Waltrip crossed the finish line in third. Bill Elliott emerging from his car right now. And Dick Bergman is there. We'll be talking with him in just a moment. And fourth position, Jeff Bodine, who is so strong all race long.
You know, I wonder what the answer is in asking the Elliots. Did you wait in the bushes and just turn the car loose when it counted? Or did you get lucky with those late cautions? Did that give you an opportunity to make those adjustments to your car? And were they the difference?
Well, in any case, Bill Elliott emerges the winner here this afternoon. And he's been taken up to the victory circle, the platform that the 3 finishers will be placed upon. Okay. Dick Bergman having some equipment problems. Let's go to him. Dick?
Slap.
Well, apparently the microphone is not working on victory platform, so Dick Bergman will be adjusting that, and we'll try to get some words with Bill Elliott. Now let's go to Dick. I think you've got the problem corrected there, Dick. Go ahead.
Okay, we got it? Okay, now we got Bill Elliott. Bill, it was a tough last lap, tough start to the interview, too.
I'll tell you what, I flat my mouth. You know, I knew Bodine had this, but I don't know what happened to him there at the end, because, boy, I tell you what, his car would run. And, you know, I knew if I could get started and go on, I might could beat them some way or other if I could get them racing among themselves. And then we run down in the corner there when Rusty blew up, and I run high, small iron. I thought, well, this is it. Then we got all squared back away and run back around, and it was a heck of a race.
Were you running as hard as you could run today?
I guarantee you every lap, because, see, I cut a tire down, and I couldn't roll Bodine.
At the very tail end of the race, Bodine came in, or did not come in for his pit stop. The 3 cars behind, including you, did. Why did you not follow the leader?
Well, we decided we'd change left side tires right quick, no matter what he did, because we were gambling anyway. And see, he couldn't gamble either way, so we did.
First win at Pocono. How do you feel?
Real good.
Bill Elliott, victory lane at Pocono.
All right, our congratulations to Bill Elliott, and our winner's circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. We'll be back with some post-race comments on this Van Scoy Diamond Mines 500 from Pocono right after we take this break.
Every Ferrari 308 leaving Italy for America leaves on Goodyear radial tires, and only Goodyear radial tires. Why? Because Mr. Ferrari wants it that way.
Hey, Bobby, toss me the flashlight.
Here, catch.
One reason why a Durabine flashlight is so dependable is because it's so incredibly rugged. Another reason is it comes with Duracell batteries that'll work, even after lying around unused for 2 years.
I can't believe you threw that. You said toss me the flashlight.
Durabine from Duracell. It really works when you need it.
Back at Pocono, where the victory celebration continues with Bill Elliott. He has won the Van Scoy Diamond Mines 500, finishing 4th. A very disappointed, I'm sure, Jeff Bodine. He's with Jack Arute.
Disappointment would be an understatement when you refer to Jeff Bodine. Jeffrey, you had dominated the entire race until the last 20 laps. What happened?
Well, we got outrun. I guess that Ford was a little stronger than we anticipated at the end. You know, we had a good lead, and until that guy blew the engine, the caution come out, it looked like we were going to be able to hold it. But everybody changed tires, and we got a set of tires that just didn't size up right. They just didn't work as good as we wanted them to. We ran faster than we did on the used tires, but they still weren't as fast as those other 3 guys in front of it. So it is a big disappointment for me, the whole team, all the people here that came down to see me run. At least we did run good this time. I hope I pleased them and put a good show on for them. But we're disappointed for Levi Garrett. We want to win a race for them, and but we did finish the race without any problems. And this is, I think, the first race this year we've been able to do that. So maybe we've turned things around, and you know, we've got such a good team, good people behind us, Rick Hendrick and Hi Rick, and just the sponsors, Levi, Exxon Motor Oil, and Beneficial. You know, we're not going to get down. We got beat, but there's more races this year.
That's the mark of a true racer, and Jeff Bodine is one of them. Another day, another dollar. Up to the tower.
Jeff led 154 of the 200 laps here at Pocono. Back with more after these messages.